So thank you everybody for coming here. This is probably one of the most pivotal moments that we are seeing in our lifetimes. And it is an honor to be here. And before we get started, we've got a few introductions to make and some housekeeping as well.
I didn't get a ticket.
You didn't get a ticket yet? So the first thing I want to address is everybody's here and we are guests of Marla. She has been so gracious in allowing us to come here. She's shut down the bar so that we could be here. And I would really encourage you, I know that sometimes things are tough, right? So things are tough sometimes, that's fine. But if you are able to, please order some food. It'd be fantastic to support her because she's going out on a limb. And she's doing it every day.
My chicken wings will be here anytime.
Yep. Chicken wings are on $2.50 per pound. Yeah.
My steak should come shortly behind.
And steaks are coming shortly behind. That's great.
There's no shrimp.
Next thing I wanted to talk about. So thank you, Marla. Everybody, give Marla a round of applause. Big one. Make sure that you bring your friends because Marla deserves it. She's one of the pioneers of what we're doing right now. And you know what? It's funny how the media talks about it, isn't it? They say, oh, these businesses, they're defying the government. Wait a second. Wait. Pause. Do we or do we not live in a society with a representative government? Now, arguably, maybe we don't. I get that. But we are supposed to be, correct? Doesn't that mean it is they who are defying us? And Marla is doing a great job of making sure that the lifeblood of any healthy economy is living, and that is small business. So thank you, Marla. For housekeeping. You can go now, yeah. Next, I want
She'll say something at the end.
She'll say something at the end, I'll make sure. Next, I want to thank the servers. They're also sticking their necks out, aren't they? In fact, it was just a couple of days ago, I get a text from Marla. One of her servers got a $1,200 fine for not wearing a mask. What? That's okay.
Because they had nothing better to do.
Because they had nothing better to do. But it's all right because she's not going to have to pay that. And we're going to be talking about how to deal with tickets that are completely arbitrary. Exactly. We're going to be talking about how to take care of that.
So you got to charge for this? Here, deal with us all at the same time.
Yeah. All right. So the first thing that we're going to be covering is the issue of masks. It's funny how much science is being pushed about masks, isn't it? And it just doesn't make any. There is no consistency to even their own arguments. And so we're going to start things off by having a mask expert talk about masks. Now this guy, he knows his stuff, and I had never seen him before or ever heard of him until just a few days ago when I was introduced to his video. If you haven't checked it out, definitely do that. You can search on YouTube, Chris Schaefer, masks.
Not the guy from Australia, is it?
Not the guy from Australia. Unless he's from Australia and doesn't have an Australian accent, I don't know. But he's going to be speaking first, so I want to thank again all of you for coming here. We're going to be going with Chris Schaefer first, and then I'm going to be speaking more about the processes that people need to take in order to open their business lawfully and peacefully and confidently, even when agents show up to try to tell you otherwise. All right? Exactly. They're trying to stop you from making money.
Take over Menchie's fucking job?
I'm not going to.
He's too late.
I can't take his job, nor do I want it. No, I don't even want that. You guys, that system's so broken. We know this, right? That system is so broken. We're not going to be able to fix it that way. As long as the position holds power, the psychopaths will seek it. And the only reason it has power is because there are people consenting. So this is why the work that I do is so I feel is really, well, it's something that I'm very passionate about, is because I recognize your sovereignty. I recognize you as a man, and you have more authority. You have more authority than the government.
Yes.
The government was created by man.
Yes.
That means it is less than us. And as long as you have that in your heart and soul, the rest of this comes easy. And that's my job, is to bring that knowledge forward so that it becomes internalized. But enough about me, we'll get into that. I want to bring forward, and thank you again to everybody. Thank you to Marla. Thank you for the staff. Make sure that you tip well.
Outside bars that come to support.
And outside bars that have come to support, because we're in this, you know what? They say that we're into this together. They're lying.
Yep.
We are in this together.
Amen.
Give me a round of applause for Chris Schaefer.
Thank you very much for the awesome introduction there, Paul. Appreciate it. Thanks, Carrie, for the great. You got to raise it for me?
Yeah, I guess so.
Okay, excellent.
It's
That
more
helps a
my
little bit.
height, so.
That's better. Thank you. I like that. That's much better. Thanks, Carrie, for the audio and everything else. And thanks, Marla, for inviting me here today to be able to speak. And definitely thanks for standing up and supporting the truth. And thank you. What I wanted to talk about here today, first of all, I just want to say that I did invite a few people here last minute that I thought might like to attend. So there's a few people that I have. In the corner near the entrance, there's actually my boxing coach. So in 1984, I started boxing, and that's a whole nother topic. We're not even going to get into that today. But Gary, just raise your hand, show people who you are. And he was my boxing coach. He lives in Calgary, so I invited him. Hand for Gary.
Talk about opening up the gym.
Yeah, well, there you go, right? And I also have another acquaintance here, a friend, Reinhardt. He's hand over there. You can see his hand in the air. And Reinhardt is a engineer that has a specialization in air filtration. He contacted me after seeing my letter to Dr. Hinshaw online to offer his support, and we've met a couple times since then, and we're on the same page. So great to have you here, Reinhardt, and thank you so much for your support. For everybody else, there's a few familiar faces here. I don't know who everyone is here, but I want to know who everyone is by the time I leave here tonight. So it's going to be important for me to come and talk to you all and meet you all and make sure that we've connected. So I really appreciate everybody who's come here tonight. So what I've been asked here to talk about was masks. And the first thing I want to say is that all of these face coverings, I can't even call them masks. They can't have the respect of a mask. They're not masks. So the government tells us they're masks. They're not masks, because masks have breathing holes in them. If you take a look at any mask, it has breathing holes for a reason. So if you look at a respirator, it has breathing holes in it. If you look at a Halloween mask, it has breathing holes. If you look at a goalie mask, it has a breathing hole. Why? Because breathing is essential. And if you are wearing a face covering over your mouth and your nose, and it does not have an exhalation valve, an engineered exhalation valve or an engineered breathing hole, then you're simply creating a harmful environment for your body by forcing yourself to rebreathe your exhaled air. And you're doing that over and over again. And I recently did a video, just a few days ago actually, and I published it on Friday. And in that video, I demonstrate very clearly for everybody just how dangerous these face coverings are. So carbon dioxide, there's a couple different gases I measure in the video. I'm just going to talk about it briefly. You guys can look at it online whenever you want. We're not going to show that particular video today, but I wanted to just talk a little bit about it. So there's two sensors, there's two things that we measure to determine, safe air or breathing air, right? So first one is oxygen, And the second one is carbon dioxide. So we have to, like, in order to have healthy air in the environment, atmospheric air,
No trees.
you got to have 20.9% oxygen. So 20.9%, and that is what's required for ordinary, normal breathing air. If you have less than 19.5, you're actually in an atmosphere that is immediately dangerous to life and health. And what I'm able to demonstrate very quickly with the monitor is that by capturing exhaled air in the mask, that you're getting oxygen levels decreasing all like down to like 17%. And I'll tell you what, as an occupational health and safety professional, I'll tell you what, if you put somebody into a atmosphere or a confined space that had oxygen concentration less than 19.5, and these masks definitely created less than 19.5, you'd get sued, and you would be charged, and you would be shut down by the government, because that is too hazardous for people to be in breathing anything below 19.5%. And these masks definitely, and I guess I call them masks, I don't want to call them masks anymore, I want to call them covers. These covers definitely create a low oxygen environment below 19.5% immediately. As soon as you put them on, it's already below 19.5%. So harmful, proven, and easy to demonstrate. So the government has no way to counter this. There's no way they can argue with it. When I wrote the letter to Dr. Hinshaw, I published it on June 22nd last year, I wrote it to Dr. Hinshaw, and I CC'd it sent it out to the 23 other doctors that were listed along with her in charge of public health in Alberta. And I'll tell you what, I still have yet to receive a single response other than red receipts from her and her department. But I will tell you this. I will tell you that there's some independent news agencies that have contacted Hinshaw's office, like Rebel News. I know that the Medicine Hat newspaper contacted them as well because they wanted to do an interview. I know that there's a newspaper in Red Deer as well that had contacted their office to get a comment, some type of comment on my letter that had been shared, took off like wildfire. It's been shared and republished online all over the world. And it's really humbling for me to see that how much of an effect and how desired and how valued and how important this information is to people, and that I could contribute to helping them out that way. So very humbling, and I'm very grateful, and I'm all about just speaking the truth and making sure that everybody knows it, because you know what, the longer this goes on, the harder it is for everybody. We need this to end now. We need to hold them to account now, and there's got to be criminal charges that are going to hopefully be filed against these tyrants, because this is criminal incompetence, or treason at worst, or criminal incompetence at best. There's no other way to look at it. This is wrong. This is it's absolutely harmful to health. So you got the low oxygen, that's proven. But then there's another side of it as well. The other sensor we look at, the other information we look at is carbon dioxide. So carbon dioxide, normally we get carbon dioxide in the air, is in the atmospheric air, you get about like 300-400 parts per million. That's pretty normal in any well-ventilated room or outside. But if you get into carbon dioxide of in excess of 1,000 parts, you can start to suffer negative effects already. You can feel more sleepy, you can feel less energetic, more lethargic. These are like at 1,000 parts. You get above 5,000 parts, you're already at hazardous levels. You're setting off alarms in monitors that are testing for carbon dioxide. And as soon as you put one of these covers on, as I was able to demonstrate, you're going to get carbon dioxide levels immediately that you're inhaling in excess of 30,000 part per million. And we know that it becomes hazardous at 5,000 and higher, like definitely. But it's not good to breathe anything long-term over, 300 to 400 parts. That's in a well-ventilated room. That's the safest. And anything that you get higher than that over a longer term is going to have negative effects on your body. They might not be permanent unless you get into that 5,000 range. But once you're in that 5,000 range, you've definitely got very serious health effects that these covers that are blocking normal flow of breathing are causing. So this is not my opinion. This is provable. This is easy to demonstrate. These things are harmful, and there is no reason you should wear it. So normally when the government comes out with something, they say Like, and this is something everybody needs to know. If you're going to be using PPE of any type of personal protective equipment, the first thing you need to know is, number one, is it safe? Is it safe for you to wear it? If it's not safe for you to wear it, it doesn't matter how effective it may be in reducing the risk. You don't even go into effectiveness. You go first, is it safe? And if it is safe, and it's not going to harm your health in any way, and it's going to, then you look at how well does it protect your health? How well does it do its job to protect you? So these are the things that you need to know. And if it doesn't meet these two, then you're going to have to, you're just going to ditch it. Now, I know you have a question there, sir, but I was wondering.
No, can I just say one thing?
Okay.
We're all wearing masks because we all have COVID, is what they're telling us,
We know the story.
right?
Yeah, we all know the story. But I just want to say, from the future, let's leave the questions. I'm going to definitely answer questions with you guys after my little presentation here. But if we could leave it till the end, I would really appreciate it. So the carbon dioxide is high in excess. And here's the thing that's interesting. If you were to cover your mouth and nose, and that's what these covers are, that restrict breathing, and we know through testing that, like when I did the video, I show that how quickly it goes to like 20, 30,000 part per million carbon dioxide, which is really mind-blowing how dangerous that is to human health. It really is. But if you were to test longer, and I've done tests longer on people, and if you're actually talking or that person's showing any kind of effort at all for intensity of breathing through talking more or even simply working harder, then you're going to get even higher concentrations of carbon dioxide and even lower concentrations of oxygen caused by these face coverings. So I've seen 45,000 parts in somebody that had a face cover that's talking for a couple minutes, somebody that's working hard, like carrying things or moving things. And it's absolutely atrocious. And anybody that gets a mask ticket, you guys have to fight it. Don't pay it. Fight it. Take it to court. Take it to court because they have to prove. Ask for disclosure. Ask for disclosure. Because they have to show their evidence that you're wrong and they're right. And it's too easy to show them how wrong they are, how unsafe they are, how dangerous. I mean, it's not even unsafe, it's harmful. It's definitely harmful, and it will harm everybody. Everybody that wears one of these tight-fitting face coverings will be harmed, whether they are aware of it or not. That is not the issue. They may not necessarily be aware of it right away. The longer they wear it, they will be harmed. They will suffer some type of health condition as a result, because you can't subject yourself to those low levels of oxygen and high levels of carbon dioxide without suffering negative health effects. You just can't, but you might not be aware of it right away. So it's really important that we get that truth out right away to everybody you know. I got copies of a brochure of that letter. The contents of the letter that I wrote to Dr. Hinshaw is in this stack of brochures I have on the end of this table. And it's important that each one of you get at least one. Take one, take two, take three, I don't care. Take as many, take a handful. But I want to make sure that you guys get them and that you pass them around and you share them with people you know that need this information, because nobody's wearing a face covering because they enjoy it. And I guarantee you that everybody will ditch it immediately if they know the truth. If they really understand the risk, they'll ditch it. So we need everyone to ditch it, because this is where this whole, everything they're doing with the lockdown and the quarantine, it all falls apart at the masks. It all falls apart there, because we can prove how dangerous they are, how harmful they are to human health. It's simple, it's easy, and it's indisputable. It's unquestionable. It's unarguable. The machines that do the detecting, they don't lie. They're calibrated, and just like you put a cigarette to a smoke detector, it detects smoke. Guess what? It works. We know that. But these instruments are even more fine than a smoke detector, because a smoke detector will just tell you smoke or no smoke. But the instruments that I'm using, they're going to tell you what percentage or part per million of the contaminant is present. It'll tell you in real time as those contaminant concentrations rise or as they fall. So they're a lot more sensitive, and this is the type of thing that can be submitted as legal evidence too, those kinds of machines when they're properly calibrated like that. So we just have this to realize how dangerous these things are to health, and that's why I'm here. So like, hey, as a respirator specialist, this is not even, it's so ridiculous, really, for me to even have to tell people that they're dangerous. I mean, look at it. Would you put a bag over your head? It's like taking a bag, we teach our kids, don't put a bag over your head.
Only if I want to kill myself.
Don't put a bag over your head. We tell our kids that. We were taught that as children. And it doesn't matter if the bag's made out of cloth or plastic, whatever, don't block your airway. It's bad for you. But it's like taking that bag, you're cutting it out, and you're taking a section out of the bag and you're putting it over your mouth and nose. And you're trying to tell people that that is going to protect them from a virus, the smallest pathogen on the planet, somehow going to protect them. Like, it's the most ridiculous thing in the world. And the fact that people are so gullible and they just believe this. I mean, it's unfortunate that they trust the government and they don't question it, and they don't ask questions like, really, is this really healthy? Is this really good? Is there proof that this is actually effective? If people ask those questions, nobody would wear it, because there is no proof. There's no proof that it's healthy, and there's no proof that it's effective. And our government is complicit in endangering people's lives, not just for people that are getting poisoned in the short term, but also the people that have pre-existing medical conditions, that if they wear these face covers, it could cause their immediate demise. This is serious business, and we need to know, we need for our government to be held to account for the harm that they're causing people by mandating face covers, blocking breathing, and not having any proof at all of their safety or effectiveness, which they can never provide. So what I brought here is I brought a few props, actually, some of the props that I used in the video that I shot a few days ago.
Did you bring t-shirts to sell?
I didn't bring any t-shirts to sell, but you know what?
Sold like hotcakes.
Honestly, you know what? I made these t-shirts up. I went to a t-shirt store in West Edmonton Mall before West Edmonton Mall mandated everybody had to wear a mask. You can go to any t-shirt shop, create your own saying, put it on a t-shirt. These are some of the t-shirts that I created. But it's a good idea. Maybe I should have do that. But honestly, I don't have time for that. In reality, I don't have time to get in the t-shirt business. I'll let somebody else run with those ideas. They can run with it, and then they can let me know how well it does. So, what's my qualifications? Well, I've been in the health and safety business for 27 years. I started out actually as an emergency responder. I worked as a medic. And after that, I decided to go into more specialized safety, and I have some fire experience as well in my past. And then I wanted to become a safety officer, so I went into that, became a safety officer. And then I pursued occupational hygiene, so I did training and schooling in occupational hygiene. And from there, I found my calling as an instructor. So I still did consulting for different companies and government, and I still count government as my clients for consulting and training. But primarily what I do in the last, I would say, since about 2004, the majority of what I do is training and health and safety related. So not just respirators, but I do training on other subjects as well, like things like fall protection as well, and high angle rescue, and confined spaces, those kinds of things as well. So I have some accreditations, but I don't really worry about the accreditations too much, because to me, I'm not going to go to war and say, you have this many letters over your name and you have this many letters after your name. I mean, I'm here to tell you the truth. I'm here to tell you the truth. And I have the qualifications and experience to speak on respirators, and I can definitely provide a resume if anybody, wanted to see that. I mean, they can look on LinkedIn as well and see my background educational wise. So, I have the qualifications to talk on respirators, and I also have the qualifications to talk on face covers, on how dangerous they are to human health. So what I have here for props is I've cut out a little bit of an N95 mask. So normally we would do training for people that work in healthcare environments. They like to get fit tested on N95. Now, N stands for not resistant to oil, and 95 stands for the percentage of protection that you get. So if you look at it like an N95 in healthcare, they talk about N95 like, wow, it's like the be-all and end-all of respiratory protection. And it's such a crock. And I'll tell you why. Because these N95 masks, like that's the lowest level of respiratory protection there is. You can't get lower, you can't get less protection than an N95 against any contaminant. It's the lowest. There's nothing lower than this. So for any healthcare to insinuate that an N95 mask is going to stop the smallest pathogen on the planet, which are viruses, it's the most asinine, insane thing. It's ludicrous. You can't even imagine how ridiculous that is, that an N95 would protect somebody. The lowest level of respiratory protection in existence is going to protect anybody from that. And this is what we would have considered a certified respirator. It has a NIOSH approval, and a NIOSH approval is a safety mask that you would not that safety organizations give for approved safety equipment. You know what? This is harmful to health. Nobody should wear N95s for anything, because they may filter and they do seal to the face, but the capture of carbon dioxide is too immense. The lower oxygen is present in the N95s. The N95s are literally as hazardous as a cloth face cover in the capture of carbon dioxide and the lower oxygen concentration. So even though NIOSH tells us that this is safe, that this is a rated respirator at the minimal level, it's not. It's not, because of the danger of the capture of carbon dioxide and lower oxygen, just like cloth masks. I'll talk to you later.
And I can second that, because working in the industry I worked in, we weren't allowed to wear any of those. You had to have a proper respirator.
Okay, so another thing here I have a surgical mask right here, and surgical mask is just a cover. And whether it is an N95 or whether it's a surgical, guess what? The reason I cut out the surgical mask is, you'll see if you take a look at it, pass it around, you can come and grab it and pass it around amongst each other. I want you to see that there's minuscule particles in it. Minuscule particles in that cover right there. And if you have the minuscule particles, they actually come depressed, they come detached from the mask material. They come detached as you breathe, as it gets hot, as it gets wet, they become detached. So you could inhale that. You could inhale the particulate fibers and particulate plastic that comes out of that mask, just breaks down from inhalation, from using. The other part of this here is, you can look at this one here, and you can see this one has the fibers, and these have the minuscule fibers in it. And these minuscule fibers, they become loose. They become detached as well, and they're really tiny, so you could actually inhale them into the deepest parts of your lungs through the breakdown of the mask material. So not only do the masks, in the immediate term, lower your oxygen and increase carbon dioxide, but they also breed disease in your body in other ways too, by capturing moisture and heat. And by staying wet and staying warm continuously, guess what? Just going to breed bacteria in the mask material. You're going to inhale it. It also causes mass degradation, which means you're going to breathe in the chemicals used to make that masks, and you're also going to breathe in the particulate that was made for the filtration of the masks. So think about that. Think about how safe that is. So there's absolutely a million reasons not to wear these two styles of masks. Now, they talk about these in healthcare, like, oh, they're so good for doctors and nurses in surgical rooms and stuff. They can wear them. They don't get harmed. They do get harmed. They're going to have oxygen deficiency from these as well, guaranteed. And I'll tell you what, they breathe the same oxygen as everybody else, so they're going to get the same harm as everybody else. In surgical rooms, they actually do multiple circulations of air in surgical rooms, and they do that to make sure that the oxygen stays at 21%, and they do that to keep a healthy level of air there. And they change out those masks frequently. When they get wet, they change them out. When they get dirty, they change them out. All of this stuff happens on a regular basis through the course of one surgery in an hour. They could change out the mask multiple times just to keep it dry, just to keep it safe. So it's really important that you understand that, like, they do use it in an operating room, but they're following certain protocol in a sterile environment, so they're minimizing those types of risks that the ordinary people are not able to minimize.
But they not do that anyway? Because you're being surgical and you're in
Surgical, we already know that. The blue masks are the best ones right now.
We know that, that's right. But I'm just saying that these are garbage, cloth are garbage. Yeah, they're all garbage.
If you can blow out a can on your mask is useless.
So what I have here, you guys, is I have the actual respirator. This is a rated respirator. Why? These are good because they expel air. They expel the air so that you don't have a buildup of carbon dioxide. You don't want to build up a carbon dioxide in your mask because you have to rebreathe it. And it causes high levels of carbon dioxide in your body. So we have the exhalation valve to purge the carbon dioxide, to push it out, and to purge the heat, to purge the moisture. And that is why this mask is safe. Air comes in through the inhalation valves. Exhaled air gets purged out with every breath. Carbon dioxide and residual oxygen, as well as excess heat and moisture. So that gets purged with every breath. That's why this is an actual respirator. So if you look at the video, you'll see that as a result of that purging, that you'll see that this is the only one that's actually safe to wear. Now, that being the case, this is safe to wear, provided it's going to provide adequate protection against the hazards you're wearing. So is this going to protect you from a virus? No way. You're not going to get any protection from viruses with this. But at least this one is designed for breathing. It is designed for breathing, and it will purge carbon dioxide out of your mask effectively. So if you are using it for the right hazard, like say right here on this has P100 filters on it, you could use it with a seal for like silica work or sawdust or any kind of particulate that would be rated for this size of filtration. Yeah, guess what? You can get protection with it. But here's another thing too, is if you have pre-existing health conditions, you can't even wear a certified respirator without getting checked by a doctor first. Because even one that's designed for breathing makes breathing harder. And as a result, if you have pre-existing medical conditions that makes increased breathing rate harder, it could cause an immediate medical condition, a medical emergency for you. It could cause your demise. So you want to make sure that if you are even using a proper engineered respirator like this, that you have medical evaluations. And physicians have not said anything about the importance of medical evaluations for people. In fact, I've heard physicians are reluctant to give medical exemptions for any type of mask or respirator or anything like that. And it's really unfortunate because there's a lot of people that shouldn't even wear one of these. Nobody should wear one that's not. If it doesn't have exhalation valves, nobody should wear it at all, regardless. If it is a properly engineered respirator, then make sure you have no medical conditions. Make sure you have the right attachments to it so that it's going to do its job, and it's going to do its job effectively. It's going to protect you from the contaminants you need to protect from. So that's how the masks work. By all means, I'll leave these on the table. By all means, take a look at them, examine them. You can see that, whether it's the certified mask that has breathing holes in it. Halloween masks have breathing holes in them. If it doesn't have breathing holes, guess what? Don't put it on your face. It's not good for you, okay? So what I'd like to do is I'll just talk. I basically gave you an overview of my letter to Dr. Hinshaw right here. Feel free, grab a pamphlet here, read it through, and by all means, be more than happy to talk to you a little bit more about respirators if you have questions. Right now, I think we could pretty much go to question and answer. We do have a wireless mic.
Useless.
What's that?
Are these ones useless?
Anything without an exhalation valve is useless. Yes.
It covers my face.
Doesn't matter. It's useless.
But it's useless because I can still breathe through it.
It's useless because it doesn't have an exhalation valve. It doesn't have an engineered breathing hole. You shouldn't cover your mouth and nose with anything that doesn't have engineered breathing
In other
hole.
words, pretty much we should just breathe, right?
Exactly.
Thank God. Thank you.
Thank you.
Why put a mask on?
Exactly. There's no reason to. Not for this type of thing at all.
It's constricting our breath.
That's right. So I would like to see if anybody here has a question for me on the masks or covers or anything like that.
That's all I have.
Okay? Yeah, go ahead.
So we know that official explanation from the government is the masks are just stopping droplets from spreading.
Okay, that's a good one.
Perspective on that.
Okay, so yeah, they do. You know what? Here's the thing that's interesting. Like, when you wear the mask in the short term, are you seeing that it's soaking wet? It takes a while to get wet, doesn't it? So it's not going to capture a lot of moisture right away. It does capture some, but that's not a good thing. And that's certainly not going to stop viruses. So if, let's say I have a virus, and everyone has viruses, we all do. We all have thousands of viruses in us all the time. We all have thousands of viruses in us all the time. So it's really understanding that we do have lots of viruses and accepting that and just keeping our bodies healthy. Stabilize, keep your immune system, nurture it, keep your immune system healthy. And do your exercise, take your vitamins, and look after your nutrition. Those things are really important to stay healthy. But our Alberta Health Services isn't talking about any of that. They're not talking about taking care of your health. They're all talking about, the only thing you need is our chemical concoction, this injection that they've come out with. They're saying that this is the only thing you need. They're not talking about anything healthy at all. It just goes to show how rotten Alberta Health Services has become. So it does capture moisture, to summarize it, but what that does is breeds disease, and it doesn't. And there might be a minuscule potential of some virus particle in the droplet, but it's not going to have any measurable effect, and I'll tell you why. Because every time, if you have the virus in your body, every time you exhale, it's going to go wherever your air goes. It's not going to be separated. It's not just in the droplets. It's going to be everywhere your air goes. And your air is going to be captured in the mask, but it's not staying there. If it was, you'd suffocate within seconds. So the air is flowing out, air is flowing in. It is restricted, but that's the danger. You don't want restriction. You can't have that kind of restriction and accumulations of carbon dioxide and low oxygen. But wherever you exhale, that's where the virus is going to go. It's not going to be just in droplets. In fact, like such a minuscule percentage would be in droplets, you couldn't even measure it. It'd be like 1% of 1% of 1% of 1% of 1%. You'd probably have to go to infinity to even find any measurable amount that's captured in droplets. Okay, yes?
So, is there a way, and I don't know, I know that this probably isn't your expertise so much, but when it comes to trying to get a mask exemption, for example, from a doctor, I'm sure you've heard, a lot of doctors are just no go on the exemption. Have you been asked to provide, have you been asked to provide any information for people to give to their doctors so that they can get exemptions?
You know what, sometimes people ask me if I know any doctors that do give exemptions. Absolutely. And honestly, I know a few. I know a few because they've reached out to me, they've read my letter, they've heard about me, and they've reached out to me, and so I do know some doctors that will give exemptions, absolutely. And I try and refer people to those doctors if they're in the area where those doctors are. And I know I'm in contact with doctors, right across the country that do, so I know a few. But I will say that there is a lot of doctors that are very reluctant to, that have received notification from their bodies that they should not issue medical exemptions, to really be careful and not to do that, really discouraging them from issuing any kind of medical exemption at all. And I can see why, because first of all, number one is that they're harmful to health. It's easy to prove. So a medical exemption, why do you need a medical exemption from something that's obviously provable harmful to your health anyhow? So but there's a real reluctance. They don't want to deal with that. You don't need a medical exemption. You need to give yourself an exemption. You exempt yourself. You're a human being. You need to breathe. You can prove that they're hazardous. It's so easy to prove. They find you. They have to provide disclosure that they have evidence that shows that they're safe for you. They have to show that they're safe and effective against viruses. And they can't do either of that. They can't do that at all. I promise you. They can't do that. So when you challenge it in court, you don't need a lawyer, a fancy lawyer that's expensive. You get them to provide disclosure. They have to provide it when you request it to see what they got, and it'll fall apart real fast, especially when they see what you've got. Your charter rights, your Bill of Rights, your International Covenant of Human Rights. You've got all that, and they don't have anything to go against that. and they don't have truth on their side either. So they've got nothing. So
Go to your
that's how you
doctor,
deal with
see what
that.
your doctor says.
I can tell you right now,
Doctor says, well,
you don't have to go to see a doctor or anything. You can just go onto the Alberta Health Services website and print off their own document. And it says that for anybody who wants an exemption,
you don't mind.
if there's anybody who wants an exemption, it's right in their own paperwork. You don't need a note.
With any store you walk
Okay, well,
into.
Just
there is
print it
you
off.
guys, there's a mic here. There's a mic. Nobody should talk if they don't have a mic. Because you guys hear right here, but nobody in the back hears. So whoever has the mic can talk. Okay, go ahead.
Two quick questions. We've been into this bullshit for close to a year. Why haven't they departed from the shittiest mask that you could think of, first of all? And second of all, can they defend this mask by saying you should only be wearing it for very, very short amounts of time, going into a store or whatever? Would that be their defense? So it's two quick questions.
Okay, well, as far as wearing it for any short period of time, I'll tell you what, if you have any kind of existing medical condition, what if you have a medical condition you don't even know you got? And you put it on you can put it on first couple breaths, it could cause your demise. It could cause you to have a heart attack what if you have COPD? What if you have some other thing like a heart failure and might not even be aware of it? It can cause your immediate demise. So there's no excuse for it to be on your face for even a couple seconds.
Okay, what about, why are they going with the shittiest mask you could think of for this one? Like, why haven't they upgraded the recommendations? Why are they staying on that shit?
What are they going to recommend? What do you mean? What are they going to recommend? What could they? There's nothing they could recommend. The only respirator that's going to protect someone from inhaling any kind of virus is a self-contained breathing apparatus. Nothing else.
I'm not defending them. What I'm saying is why are they that stupid? Is my premise.
Well, I don't know if they're that stupid or if the people that are complying are that stupid. Either way, as long as they got people buying it.
What I mean by that is surely they know they're open to lawsuits with, I mean, it's obvious blocking your airways is stupid. I mean, how could they be that stupid? I mean, wouldn't they make some efforts to try to avoid it? I mean, this is ridiculous.
I mean, you can see what's going on as well as I can. And, it's just, I don't know what their plan is.
Yeah.
But honestly, they're proven, it's so easy to demonstrate they're hazardous. I mean, it's as easy to demonstrate they're hazardous as putting a bag over your head. I mean, it's the same stuff. So I mean, I don't know what their strategy is. All I can tell you is that it's criminal.
Yeah.
Okay, anybody else? Any other questions?
I just say remove my mask.
We got the mic here going around. Anybody else?
I hope you don't mind, but I'm just I'd like to add a couple of things to do with talking about viruses, just for the benefit of
Sure, sounds good.
A virus is actually about 100 to 200 times smaller than the opening in the N95 masks. So they absolutely stop nothing. Secondly, if a virus is actually caught in an aerosol or droplet, the droplets are so small that they actually evaporate within a split second. And as soon as that happens, the virus is actually free to move again.
So there you go. Those droplets, unless it's a big gob of spit, right? So if it's a huge visible gob, then yes, you sneeze in your mask, it'll be there a little longer. But you're right, as Reinhard said, when we're talking about these minuscule little droplets, they're going to go through real fast. Absolutely. Thank you for that.
Okay. I'll say one thing is the reason they say we wear masks is because we all have COVID. Because I don't want to spit on you.
I already addressed that, sir. I already addressed that.
Well, exactly. Right?
So yeah, I mean, anybody else have a question?
We've already lived this long, and we all of a sudden we can't go without fucking having.
Anybody else in the back? If not, if there's no more questions. If there's no more questions, I have a video that I can show you guys.
One question.
Okay, what is
Why
it?
do they say when we come into a restaurant we gotta have our masks on coming in, but as soon as we sit down we take it off, we're all okay?
Well, that's not my rule. I don't know what that
That's
is.
not your rule. I mean, but as they're telling us, since COVID's here,
Asia
down
loves
here,
it.
control.
They love to see the white man all covered up, their faces covered up.
So we're going Muslim.
Sorry, no, going
That's
something.
what we're going with. All right. Right? We're all gonna be Muslim now, we're all-
It's true. They're playing so
Well, I think we'll change gears on that one then.
Oh, we missed it again.
Any other questions at all? Because I want to make sure you guys understand, just be very clear. I mean, I'm sure that you guys have really good understanding of how dangerous these covers are. Let everybody know as well, And I'll tell you what, me speaking out, I've had people that I considered my peers in a close relationship, people that I relied on for all kinds of safety stuff. As soon as I started speaking out against this, I had some people that I considered to be the closest friends and confidants that wouldn't even read my letter to Dr. Hinshaw, refused to even look at it because they knew that my specialization, one of them was respirators, and that they didn't even want to see where the government was wrong. That's how crazy it can get. And it's totally split the friendship, like unbelievable. Because the one thing I realized through all this is that, you can, before this whole, in a way, this whole coronavirus thing agenda has been a real gift, because in a way, and I'll tell you why. Like, number one, it's been a gift because I've met some really good people, and I'll tell you that common values are way stronger and more valuable, more worthwhile than common interests. So friends before were common interests, friends now are common values. And that's the best thing in the world. So it's been good in that way. And so are you ready to show the video there?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so if there's no more questions, you guys, thanks so much for letting me present. And I got a video here. This is one I did with Rebel News. Kind of gives you an overview of one of the talks I did. And you can watch it here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Drea Humphrey here with Rebel News, and at one point we were repeatedly warned about COVID-19 being so easily transmitted. We allowed healthy people to be quarantined, and it had a domino effect on our entire country.
There's no reason to be walking around with a mask.
Why was there not a sigh of relief or a relaxing of restrictions when the World Health Organization explained that the healthy and asymptomatic people are not the big COVID spreaders we were once warned of?
But from the data we have, it still seems to be rare that an asymptomatic person actually transmits onward to a secondary individual.
Similarly, the World Health Organization now acknowledges that requiring humans to stay 2 meters away from other humans is unnecessary. Right in their protect yourself and others from COVID-19 guidelines, the advice is that maintaining at least 1 meter distance between yourself and others is sufficient. Yet have you seen any businesses revise their 2 meter COVID restriction signs or their red circles that you have to line up at to buy groceries? I haven't. Would someone please share this good news with this funeral home? Look at that. So quick to rush back to a 2 meter distance like a prisoner stepping out of line during roll call. According to Darren Grimes, that was sons trying to console their mother at their father's funeral. And speaking of the cure being worse than the virus, contrary to popular belief, it's not conspiracy talk to point out that yes, while wearing masks can have benefits in very rare and limited circumstances, there are also risks to wearing masks in general, especially now that many of us are being forced to wear them every single day.
The facial coverings can cause a different type of problem. With kids returning to school, local doctors say children are at a heightened risk of contracting impetigo.
Dr. Dahlia Wax discussing the latest issue in the oral hygiene world that appears to be caused by constant mask wear.
As we're wearing the mask, rather than breathing through our nose like you would think, we're breathing more through our mouth.
Temperatures keep climbing.
You add heat, humidity, probably months of more physical inactivity than usual because of social isolation and distancing, and now you mask up, it's certainly going to make it a lot more difficult to breathe, which can lead to further respiratory complications.
So, if we know healthy people are unlikely to spread the virus to other people, shouldn't we be allowed to make an informed decision as to whether or not the risks to wearing a mask outweigh the risk posed to people that we have no intention of getting close to in the first place? And are the masks the majority of people are wearing, are those masks even preventing them from contracting the virus? To answer the question of efficiency, I interviewed an expert named Chris Schaefer from SafeCom Training Services. When it comes to knowing more about personal protective equipment, Chris is the one to talk to. For the last 27 years, he has been training medical professionals like doctors and nurses, as well as conducting fit tests to allow such professionals to know how to stay safe. Here is what Chris had to say.
Now, give us a little bit more. I said a little taste of what it is you do and what makes you qualified for this discussion today. But if you could just give a little excerpt about anything that I've missed with that, that would be great.
Well, I am the director of SafeCom. Before that, I was the director and manager of hygiene or training services for a large different companies. Some are billion-dollar companies, some not, but I'm definitely qualified to speak on respirators.
So what do you have to say about people walking around, thinking, their DIY masks that they made with all these cool colors, their fashion masks, or even buying them at a fashion store, it matches their top. What do you have to say about people like myself, who used to be like myself, I should say, who think they're safe in walking around with that type of protection?
A respirator is a very specially, sophisticatedly engineered piece of equipment used to filter or deactivate contaminants in the air, one or the other. So not all respirators are designed to filter. Some have attachments that are designed to deactivate other chemicals or problems in the air, right? So just to be clear here is that if you take a piece of cloth or whatever other homemade masks are made out of, and you put it against your mouth and nose, that is not a respirator. That is a mask that is blocking. It's a cover that's blocking your ability to breathe. And anytime that you start to restrict your ability to breathe, and you're not able to inhale oxygen, and you're not able to expel carbon dioxide in a very normal, natural way like we do without a mask, you're going to start experiencing health problems very quickly. Oxygen is essential. The right flow, the concentration of oxygen is essential in the atmosphere for us to lead a healthy life and to be healthy. And as soon as that is reduced or cut off, we start to feel the negative consequences immediately. Mm-hmm. Things that would be signs of oxygen deprivation that we see common with people that wear masks, especially for several hours, would be things like headaches, dizziness, lack of coordination, extreme tiredness. These are all signs of hypoxia, which is oxygen deprivation. Mm-hmm. And it's common because they're not designed to be worn over your mouth and nose. They're not designed to be breathed through. They're not engineered for that purpose. And a respirator is an engineered device. It's specifically for that purpose. Whereas a mask is a cover. And just like we were taught as children, don't put a bag over your head because it could be dangerous.
Right.
Blocking your mouth and nose is not a smart idea.
What are the difference between things like a KN95 and then an N95? How does that pair up when being worn to protect yourself from COVID-19?
Well, that's a good question. And just to clarify, the N95 is an actual certified, tested, proven safe respirator by the National Institute of Occupational Safety and Health. And you can't say that about KN95. So KN95 is a kind of, I think, created. I never even heard of KN95s before COVID was announced. So I don't know if it was something that was just created to give somebody to wear, but it definitely does not have the same regulation or protections or safety testing that an N95 does. And and I've been following and tracking, and I get a lot of feeds of questions potentially on what type of chemicals were made in the KN95, because it seems to be, and this is not my personal experience, but this is just from other people that I'm hearing, is that it seems to be some people are getting ill from some of these respirators coming out of China because of the chemicals that were put into it that wouldn't face the same regulatory scrutiny as they would in North America for the same product.
Well, it wouldn't be the first time something like that has happened from a product coming out of China. I'll have to say about some of these mandates, including in some places children and having to wear it. Some people have backpedaled from this, but having to wear it in school for hours and hours and things like that.
It's a bad idea. It's a really bad idea. None of these masks that people are wearing, these ones with no inhalation or exhalation valves, were designed to be worn anytime. And I'm just talking N95, because N95 is an actual low-level respirator. The lowest protection, in fact, of all respirators. But people aren't using N95s. They're reserved for hospital staff. They're not available to the general public. They're all sold out. Even hospital staff are having a hard time locating actual N95s. So what are they using instead? They're using something like this. Can you see that? Mm-hmm. This style, right? People are using this. And this is not going to filter anything at all. It doesn't seal to the face. It's designed as a cover only. It can't filter anything, not even dust, not even large particles, much less viruses, nothing. You know, if somebody was, let's say, going to be working around sawdust or any type of large particulate, the minimum that I would recommend would be something like this. This is a half mask with P100 filters, with filters rated with 100% protection. It's not going to be 100%. It's not 100%, even at the particulate size that it's rated for. But just to give you an idea, this isn't going to stop a virus. So if this, which is an actual proper respirator that actually seals to your face, isn't going to stop a virus, then you tell me how something like this that is loosely fitted cannot seal to the face at all, along with these cloth masks that if they do seal to the face, they're just going to cause oxygen deprivation. They're not respirators. This isn't a respirator, and a cloth mask isn't a respirator. And if you're putting something that's closely fitting to your face that's not designed to be breathed through, and it's causing oxygen deficiency, that's a slow form of self-suffocation.
But in closing, if somebody really wanted to, if they're like, you know what, I'm not coming out of my bubble here and tell no one has COVID, but then they had to go out and take the garbage out. What would they have to suit up as? What would they have to look like to actually protect themselves from catching the virus?
You'd have to look like an actual virologist that actually knows how to protect themselves from viruses, which is simply, you got to have a whole protective encapsulated suit that will cover you from head to toe, and it would cover all exposed skin surfaces, and it would provide you with a separate source of air, separate from the air around you. So to give you an example, most people don't know this, but it's absolutely factual, is that viruses, because they're so tiny, they can enter through your eyes and the surface of your skin just as easily as they can through your mouth or nose. So even if somebody was to say, the argument isn't even this, we know these don't protect against viruses. They don't protect against particles that small. And if people want to say that, they're going to encapsulate big droplets and stuff like that, yeah, maybe some big droplets, a lot of small droplets will come through it. This offers far superior protection to what people are currently using right now. Okay, But even if it was 100%, then you're still going to have virus exposure through the pores of your skin and your eyes. And it's not going to make any real difference at all. And don't block off your oxygen unless you really should be using something that's designed to be breathed through so it doesn't cause hypoxia. Recognize the signs. If you're getting headaches, if you're getting sick, if you're getting nausea, if you're feeling dizzy, there's something wrong. And cutting off your oxygen can be immediately dangerous. We can survive only a few minutes without oxygen. We can survive days without water and weeks without food. Oxygen is definitely the most essential nutrient that we need to stay healthy.
How are medical professionals perceiving you for talking out, I don't want to say against masks, but against masks that aren't designed to do what people are wearing them for?
You know what, honestly, I haven't really heard much feedback from medical professionals since this whole COVID thing started. There's been a lot of silence everywhere. I've had a few, definitely I've had some support, don't get me wrong. I get support from all over the world because I wrote a letter to Dr. Hinshaw June 22nd that was published all over the world, was outlining my concerns with the implementation of N95 non-medical and surgical masks for protection from COVID. But, you know, so I've received support. I haven't received much negativity. I haven't really received too much comments saying you're wrong or anything like that, especially from professionals. And I don't expect to, because I'm not guessing. What I talk about, I know. And it's just overall just kind of an eerie silence over the whole thing. Nobody really wants to talk too much about it.
Well, thank you so much, Chris, for being on the Rebel News today.
Thank you so much, Tria. It was a pleasure.
If you feel unable to wear a mask at times, Rebel News can help you out with that. We hired a lawyer to comb through the mask mandates and have come up with a mask exemption card that fits your wallet, as well as a big bright yellow mask exemption button you can simply point at on your way in.
But before I get into the how-to, it's going to be step 1, step 2, step 3. Before I get into that, we need to talk a little bit about mentality. Who here maybe owns a gym? Anybody, a gym owner in the room?
I have a friend with a gym.
A friend with a gym. All right, perfect. So your friend probably incessantly speaks about how much it's about mentality more than just going to the gym every day. It has to be mentality. Because arguably, you need to have the right mentality to even go to the gym every day, correct? Okay. What about business owners? Business owners are here in the room right now. Yep, obviously, good, wonderful. Thank you so much for coming. Business is a completely different mentality than if you're an employee, correct? Right, obviously. And the bigger the business, the bigger your mentality, correct? Yeah. If you want to grow your business, you got to grow your mentality first. Correct. All right. What about relationships? You want to have a long-lasting, fulfilling maybe you don't want to have it long-lasting, but fulfilling relationship, you have to have the right mentality, correct? Right. Why is it different when it comes to freedom?
Shouldn't be.
Shouldn't be. Freedom is the same thing. And the reason why we face what we face in the cultural revolution that we're currently experiencing is because of people's mentality. For thousands of years, we've been ruled. And that's a mentality that we have adopted and internalized and practiced for a long time. And it's not wrong. I mean, it's not your fault. But if you'd like to be free, it's going to take a shift in mentality. So I'm going to cover a few things. I'm not an expert on anything. I'm just really good at being able to engage with people, get them to the right answers to their questions. I can point them. I've got people in my network that can literally answer any question within 1 or 2 phone calls. And the other thing that I'm really good at is engaging with you one-on-one and in settings like this. But one thing that I have been really focusing on for the last 20 years is personal self-governance. You own you. No one else does. And no one can take that from you. They may try, but even if they point a gun, you own you. Now, you don't have to clap yet. But thank you. Thank you. The most important thing that stems from that is self-responsibility. If you want to be self-governing, because that is the ultimate freedom, if you wish to have self-governance, you also have to have self-responsibility. Meaning, if you've done harm, you're going to have to find some remedy for it. Meaning that if you make a mistake, you own up to it. Meaning that you don't rely on someone else to provide you with means that you can get yourself. And I have all respect for people who may not be able to, either because of a disability or because of their background. Whatever the case may be, there are things that can limit you from getting what you want in life. However, that's what community is for. We build communities, and they don't have to be huge. In fact, it's ideal if they're not, to provide support for each other wherever that need is present. Marla here has a need to help figure out how to navigate all of the agents' protocols and rules and codes. She needs help. So in the community, I'm here to help. Someone may not have the ability to maintain a job, maybe because of a physical or mental disability. And so they're going to need finances. In a proper functioning community, they will have it, correct? All right. The reason I bring that up is because my biggest thing is building communities of people that are happy to coexist. They're happy to collaborate. They do business together. They play games together. They do things together in small communities. And the reason we do that is because that's where you can get the most effective help. You're creating families. In the last 6 months, literally 6 months ago, I was like, I gotta get together with people that think the same way that I do, that have the same Chris, you talked about values. You gotta find people who share the values that you do.
100%.
And start building communities, because that is how we're gonna get through this. Why do you think they want us to social distance? Because they don't want us to be self-governing. And you become self-governing by creating small communities of people that hold each other accountable, and they collaborate and build great things together. And I'm not going to get into the political reasons why we're seeing what we're seeing, but I think pretty much everybody here gets that we have an enemy knocking at the door, possibly even already in the door, called communism.
Socialism.
And socialism is just communism that got elected. And that enemy is not going to stop until Marla closes her business.
Marla will never close.
And that's right.
Yeah, bitches!
And this is how we push back. This is how we push back. Now, as you can see up on the screen there, I've got a few sayings that I want you to, if you want, please write them down. They're very, very important. They are foundational to the mentality of self-governance and self-responsibility. If you even so much as sacrifice a sliver of responsibility, you have in effect said, I don't want to be self-governing 100%, maybe 90%, maybe 95%. And that's not the worst thing. Again, I get it. I get it. Sometimes we need help. But here's what we know. History has taught us that when governments take an inch, they'll take a mile. So if you are to ask for help, make sure it's within your community. If you're getting help from government, you have in effect said, I don't want to self-govern. And it's okay. You know what? I'm actually for, if a community of people wish to have socialization, they can go ahead and do it. They can. They're free to do it. In fact, I encourage them to go and do it if that's what they want. But the moment they force me to do it, I have a problem. That was a slow clap. No, I appreciate that. You get what I'm saying. Because the initiation of force is the beginning of destruction. And if we have a society where the initiation of force is used as a tool to make people do things, then we are doomed. Because once they take an inch, they'll take the mile.
And then they'll take again more miles.
And they just keep going. And here is why I'm doing this, and here is why you are all here. You know the truth. That this community, whether or not you've met someone else in this room or not, you are part of a community now. And this is power. And because you are owning you, it means that you have 100% authority over you as well. I had a conversation with a police officer that came into one of my friend's stores, accompanied by an AHS officer. And he came in and he said, "You're going to listen to her." And I said, "Is there a contract?" I'll get more into that later. And he's like, "That doesn't mean anything." And I said, "Okay, no worries. What's going on?" And she proceeded to talk about things that she was lying about before, and I've already pointed out those lies. But anyways, at one point, I said, "I get that you believe you have the authority to be here, but you don't. You only have the power because he's holding a gun. But I do not recognize the authority." And he said, "Well, it's a good thing that you recognize I have the power." It's funny how they do that. But here's the thing. I can confidently point at him and say, the only reason you're here and the only reason why you feel that you can be here is because he has a gun. That's it. I can do that because internally I know the truth. He's just carrying a gun. The only difference between me and him is that he's holding a gun. That's it. He's just another man. And the AHS officer was just another woman. There's nothing special about them. In fact, they're just employees. And now we come into some of the meat behind what it is that I need to present. They are just employees of who?
Us.
Aha. I'm preaching to the choir. Let's take it a step further. Who signs the check?
We do.
Well, technically we don't. Because if we did, they probably wouldn't get a paycheck. No, you are no longer required. Oh, who signs the check? The government. What is the government?
Body of representatives.
It's a body of representatives. Okay. Whoop-de-doo. But what is it, the government? That's who makes up the government. But what is the government?
Tyrannical organization.
Tyrannical organization? Could be, certainly. In North America, governments are corporations. They're known as service corporations because they provide a service to you, the public. Tell me something. Does the status of a corporation give them the authority to tell you what to do with yours?
No.
Why not?
Because we are free.
Because we're free, okay. But except you got an incorporation, you got a business license and all that good stuff. What like, how is it that they have come to have any kind of authority over your business? Mindset. Thank you. The mindset that we need to adopt is, are you ready? This is going to be controversial. Let's say, for instance, someone who's maybe a shift manager at McDonald's came into my friend's store. Her name is Susan, by the way. She has Boutique on First in Edmonton, and she's actually labeled a public nuisance by AHS. Thank you very much. And let's say one of those shift leaders from McDonald's, which is only about 4 blocks away, came into Susan's store and said, "I don't like the way that you change your garbage bag." What would you? Well, if that happened to you, let's say, for instance, do you? And this table here, do you own a business? You own a business? What kind of business do you own?
I'm a doctor of Chinese medicine.
Oh, doctor of Chinese medicine. All right, perfect. Let's say someone from Burger King came into your place of business. It's like the opposites, right? Let's say someone from Burger King came into your office and said that they don't like the way that you wipe your counter. What would you tell them?
Tell them to get out.
To get out. Good. That's great mentality. Guess what? You can use the same response when a government official comes in. Why? Because they work for a corporation.
Oh.
That's it. They are employees of a service corporation trying to tell you how to run yours. Now, put a pin in that for a second. Take a look at how they've been running their corporation for the last 100 years and tell me whether or not they should have anything to do with yours. Nothing. They should have nothing to do with yours. And the great news is they don't. Unless you consent.
Did you pee a little? I can see the picture. He scared the shit out of you, didn't he? Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Did I wake you up? That'll sober you up. I know I was loud, but do people hear what's going on here? Do you feel that inside you as well? Good. I'm gonna give you some more tools. They don't have authority. They think they do, but they don't. And here's why. There's a hierarchy of creation. All right? Now, I don't care what your religious beliefs are. I'm not even an expert on any of that either. But majority of us can agree that there is something or someone, or maybe it was even just due process that created us, correct? Whatever it is, we came here and we are above whatever we create, correct? We have either stewardship of it, or ownership of it, or whatever. Authority over it. Well, when we created the government, it made us government of it. Okay? We own it. We have higher authority. We have higher standing in the hierarchy of nature. We are more than they are. The created can never be greater than the creator. Okay? Does that make sense? Stick with me. These are processes. We need to build the foundation of mentality before I give you what's in these packages, you business owners. Because what's inside these packages have the potential to get you open tomorrow. No restrictions. And you can keep staying open even when they show up, but you've got to have this internalized. Otherwise, those papers are just meaningless. As meaningless as the papers they come up with. So, where was I? They are our subordinates. Okay? When they come into your place of business, they serve you. They might start asking the questions. That's fine. You don't have to answer them. I'm going to go over just a few things. I took notes here because otherwise I get super passionate and sometimes distracted. But the first thing that they're going to do when they come in is they're going to claim that someone made a complaint, right? They're going to say, oh, you don't have plexiglass in front of your till. If they come in, they're just scanning real quick to see anything they can possibly see to latch onto you. And if you're not wearing a mask, they'll say, someone complained that you weren't social distancing. Right, but they're going to do that. Or, again, like they'll say something about the plexi, or they're going to say, oh, I don't see stickers on your floor, and so you need to have them. I don't see the brand of the sanitizer by the door. Like, they're just going to come up with whatever they want. Again, remember, it's just like Burger King coming and speaking about how someone who has a Chinese medicine practice about how they wipe their counters. That's no different. They have no jurisdiction over you unless you give it. When they do that, here's the thing. They think that they're following the law, right? Because we have this notion that acts and codes and orders are law. Guess what? They're not. Corporations cannot create laws. We do. We do. Through a process, right? Orders. I'm going to get into that. Let's get into that, shall we? Did you know that Dr. Hinshaw, the Chief Medical Officer of Health, cannot make an order unless there's a state of emergency? Look up the dates. They were done out of order. Uh-huh. So all of the things that they come in and they tell Marla what to do with her business because of CMOH order blah 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 2020, invalid, because the order was made prior to the state of emergency. Most people don't know that, and it sounds like most of the people in this room did not know that. Sure.
Yeah, do it again.
From where? The very beginning?
Last part.
The Chief Medical Officer of Health cannot place an order unless there's a state of emergency declared. Check the dates. They were made out of order. So when AHS comes in and tells you what to do because of CMOH order blah 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 2020, they are invalid because they were made prior to the state of emergency being declared. And this, my friends, is why we have a secret weapon when it comes to their orders, fines, tickets, and it's called full disclosure. It doesn't matter what they give you. It doesn't matter what the paperwork says. It doesn't matter what the order is. It doesn't matter anything. It doesn't matter the amount of the fine. You ask for full disclosure, and there's a specific wording. Use the word require. I require full disclosure. And they can't give it. And since they can't give it, that's why these fines are getting thrown out. People say, no, but I mean, this other, they said to pay a fine, Marla had to pay a fine. She didn't know any better. A lot of people are paying fines. They're counting on that. But if you ask for full disclosure, you will likely never even have to show up in court. Because what they're going to do is that they're going to send you a tiny little stack of paper saying this is their full disclosure, and that's going to cite the order, to which you reply with specific wording, and I've got that in the business package. You reply with specific wording that gets them to make sure that they are providing the evidence that supports the order. They don't have any. And then it gets thrown out because they can't bind it to you. They can't bind it to anyone. They're banking on the fact that people will believe that they are not self-governing. They are banking on the fact that people believe they have authority. You're in charge. Okay, so there are two different ways that you can go about this. Officer comes in telling you what you have to do with your business. You have two options. You can let them make an inspection if you wish, or you can say, I don't consent to this. This is my property, and I'm requiring you to leave. If they do not have paperwork to give you, right then and there, you can lawfully say you are committing trespass.
True.
I have to push pause for a second. Someone remind me, Brian, just remind me that I'm talking about trespass. Some of you may have noticed I'm using different phrases, I'm using different language in some cases, right? Committing trespass, that's not how we usually we say, oh, you're trespassing. I'm saying committing trespass. Why is that? Does anyone know why I say that?
Legalese.
It's legalese, correct. Trespassing is legalese, legal language. And trespassing is a misdemeanor. Your worst nightmare, if you're trespassing, is that you're going to get kicked off the property. However, if you commit trespass, you can be tried. Yes. Now let's talk about this. If you could bring up that website for me, please. Sure. I'm going to make a short, again, I'm not the expert in this, okay? I introduce people to things and solutions that they can go ahead with, and I can point them to the experts that help them in those areas. But here's something that's been going on over the last, 2 or 3 weeks, I'd say, maybe a month. There's this movement that's out there, common law thing, right? Yeah. And there are more and more people starting to do that kind of thing, where it's like, oh, I'm sovereign, or maybe free man of the land, that kind of stuff. You know what? I encourage anybody that wants to pursue something that gives them more freedom, gives them more opportunities to have self-governance, go for it. I really do. But there's this thing that's been going on for like the last month or so where we hear things like, oh, that common law stuff is pseudo-legal. I had a lawyer from AHS write to one of my friends who has the store, and They were responding to our requirement to see the contract that they can administrate on property that's not theirs. They have to produce the contract. If they want to administrate on Marla's property, this is the coaching we're going to give, is that they have to have contract. Why? Because they're a corporation. Remember, this gets inside you, it just automatically rolls out of your mouth. It becomes second nature. They're a corporation. That means that they are bound by law. Which law? Correct. Contract law. Means that there has to be a contract if they want to administrate property on property that doesn't belong to them. There has to be a contract. Marla does not have a contract with them. But I'm going to go over this idea that common law is pseudo-legal. If you would, look at the screens. This is the Department of Justice website from the Government of Canada. This is the website giving all of the information that could be pertaining to the Department of Justice, including criminal code, blah, blah, blah. Where our legal system comes from. Canada's legal system is based on the English and French systems. Explorers and colonists brought these systems to Canada in the 17th and 18th centuries. After the Battle of Quebec in 1759, the country fell under English common law. I thought it was pseudo-legal. No, it's actually, the country fell into common law, except for Quebec, which follows civil law. Canada's legal system is based on a combination of common law and civil law. Scroll down just a bit. I'm going to bring your attention to keep going down a little bit. Civil law. Okay, perfect, thank you. Common law is law that is not written down as legislation. Common law evolved into a system of rules based on precedent. What does that mean? Precedent means this has already occurred, and we have a reference to what the proceeding should be. This is a rule that guides judges in making later decisions in similar cases. The common law cannot be found in any code or body of legislation, but only in past decisions. So based on how it was in the past, that's how we're going to base the decision of the future. At the same time, it is flexible because times can change, technology changes, there can be different variants of things so that you can be flexible, but basically you're going to be following the precedent. It adapts to changing circumstances because judges can announce new legal doctrines or change old ones. Then we go down into civil law, where it talks about what that looks like and where it is. It's in Quebec. Quebec is the only province with a civil code. Then you'll see, after it says which is based on the French code, Napoleon, or the Napoleonic code. What is the next sentence? Someone read it out for me.
The rest of Canada uses the common law.
The rest of Canada uses the common law. I'm not going to point names, or point fingers, I'm not going to name names. But if anybody tells you that common law is pseudo-legal, please reference them to the Government of Canada Department of Justice website. Any questions?
What happened to the government of Canada?
Canada? I don't know.
It was before, like, Canada was, there were laws when the Indians were here. And there was different things that...
Oh. Yeah, I'm not a history expert. But I know some people that can help you out with that. And if you want, I can introduce them to you in some of their material. But basically, what's happened is that we've had a dilution occur. And that dilution is in the power of language. That's why we talked about trespass versus trespassing. Trespassing is what's called a maritime law term. That maritime law is for commerce. Marla, are you a business or are you a woman? You're a woman. She has a business.
She's a woman.
But she is not a business, she is a woman. That means common law applies to you. Maritime law only applies to your business. by consent. Because you own it. The woman owns it. Thanks, that's all I need to hear. All right. Trespass. Thank you, Brian. I'm going to require you to leave because you're committing trespass. They're committing trespass, why? Because they're not there to do anything other than administrate on property that's not theirs. I've noticed that you have all of these problems. You're not wearing a mask. There's not properly social distancing at the till. You need to have plexiglass. You need to have stickers on the thing. You need to have a rapid response plan. You need to have, like, going through all these, you need to have, clear labeled sanitizer and all this stuff. All these different little things that they're trying to administrate on your property are built out of this order that got created. But remember, the order doesn't actually, it's the only reason it exists is because people believe it exists. It's funny, but it actually doesn't exist. And you can take that down, you can take that rabbit hole quite a ways, and you'll discover that the government of Canada doesn't even exist. I'm not going to get into that, but that's true. And if you want to learn about that, you can go to themythiscanada.com. So, very briefly, it's a de facto government. It actually is not de jure. And it only exists because there's a corporation and there are guns. That's the only reason it exists, and people listen to it. Oh, and regarding consent, let me just ask you a question. If you can't withdraw your consent, it's not consent, is it? So, if they say something like, oh, you agreed to this and this and this and this, oh, well, I guess I don't consent to that anymore. Thank you very much. Have a good day. Now be honorable, okay? Let's be above them, because they're not honorable. They may have honorable in front of their name, like it's a title of some sort, but they're not honorable. And I can give you multiple moral reasons why. So they're going to come up and they're going to give you all these reasons why you have to do this and you have to do this and you have to do that. Regardless of the complaint, which is a legal term, you can confidently reply, if I've done something unlawful, I need to see the claim that someone has been harmed. If they can't produce the claim that someone has been harmed, no law has been broken. Why is that? It's called the presumption of innocence. Innocent until proven guilty. And unless someone brings forth a claim that they've been harmed, no law has been broken. I'll get it. Just kidding. You can say, if there is no claim, then I am presumed innocent until proven guilty. And then they're probably going to direct the conversation to conducting an inspection. Now this is where you have two options. You can allow them to conduct the inspection because that's not a contract. You can do that. If you want to just do that, you can do that. Or you can start testing how much guts you've got. I know Marla has got lots of guts. And all of you, think about it for a second. All of you have guts. You built businesses, for crying out loud. You gotta have guts to do that. All right. Now, if you just, let them do the inspection, they're gonna leave some paperwork with you. This is key. If they do not leave you paperwork, no inspection has been conducted. Okay? They can say an inspection was done, but until you have the paperwork, no inspection has been completed. Okay, that's very important. We've had many cases where they come into people's stores, and I'm working with that business owner, and they come in and they're like, and then they come up, they turn around and they actually produce an order, and the order says that an inspection was conducted, but there's never been an inspection paperwork anywhere. No inspection has been happened. And we turned around and we said, oh, you said that an inspection was completed. Let's just clarify that when you came into the property, you were asked to show your ID. You didn't produce it, and we said that you were committing trespass, and you left. Now you're saying an inspection was completed? Full disclosure, thrown out. You just find one thing, one fatal flaw in their process, free and clear, you're good to go. Don't worry about it. And if at any given time you have a question about what's happening, or you're not quite certain whether or not this is like, what do I do from here? Text me. Ready? Write down my number. 780-266-4648. I have a team of people ready to help you. So you have two options. Let them do the inspection, they give you the paperwork, and then you ask for, and then what you can respond to that if you want. You can be like, nope, I actually do have sanitizer. Nope, I do not have to have put a plexiglass because I do practice social distancing, blah, blah, blah. Just appease them. Then they're gonna come up with an order. That's their next process. If they conduct an inspection legally, they conduct an inspection, then they're going to create an order, tell you what you have to do now, and you have to do this by a certain date. You have 10 days to form an appeal, and I've got the paperwork in here, in these papers here. You'll see what an appeal looks like. You can get it right off the website, their website, and you just fill it out. You do have to have Adobe Reader on your computer. Have you ever noticed that when you go to the government website and they say download this PDF, it comes up and it is like, cannot load information. You have to have Adobe Reader. They do that on purpose, by the way. Oh yeah, they don't want you downloading their paperwork. Okay, so the other option, let's pause that. So let's keep going. They're going to produce the order. You make the appeal, and in the appeal, you're going to say these words right here. I apologize, it's not on there. But you're just going to say, I require full disclosure on the matter. Done. Send it off. They have to produce full disclosure. It's going to come out, little tiny piece of paper, and then you're going to ask, let me know when that happens, if that happens. Let me know when you get their full disclosure, and I will guide you through the rest of it. More of this is going to be produced on the website. I've got a whole bunch of it done. There's a lot of things that you can get started on there. The website is letstallopen.com. Okay, so there's the option where they go ahead with the inspection and they give you the order. The other option takes guts, all right? This takes more resolve if they say, I need to conduct an inspection. You can say, I do not wish to enter contract with you, and I would prefer that any correspondence we have be in writing. Make them write it down. The more that you can get them to write, the more you will find fatal flaws in their process and they will not be able to proceed. Make them write it to you. They may say something like, well, no, we're allowed to conduct an investigation anytime we want, and they'll use the excuse like this is in the health code or the Health Act. And they're going to use all the orders. They're going to try to do that to prove their validity. To which you can reply, I know you think you have the authority to conduct an inspection, but until there is a contract between myself and the corporation, AHS, or OHS, or AGLC, or whatever, you cannot administrate property without right. At this point, they are usually, they don't know what to do. And the reason why is because they're trained only in two types of responses. They're trained on how to respond to your compliance or your fighting. This isn't fighting. That's why when I was talking about this event and why I said at the very beginning, I'm going to show you how to do this honorably, we're not fighting. We're simply asking, produce the contract. You show me the contract. I've even told people on behalf of business owners, I've told them, I said, you know what? Susan is happy to have discussions with you, but you're going to have to produce the contract that says that we need to. And since we have the freedom of association, that's even in their system, the legal system. Freedom of associations in the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms. Freedom of association. What does that mean? You can freely associate with whoever you damn well please. And you can disassociate from anyone you damn well please. It's true. They're just a corporation. They're nothing. They're no one. They're just a corporation. And they are bound by the same law as your corporation. Nobody here that has a corporation can tell my corporation what to do. That's against the law. It's against the law. Because they are only trained in one of those two things, either compliance or you're fighting, they're going to start to stutter. They're going to be like, or they're going to look at their papers and they're going to look at their, next part of their script. They don't know what to do. And this is my favorite part. I can tell that you don't have a contract to administrate my property without right. And until you do produce it, you are committing trespass. And as such, I require that you leave the property. That's it. When you have the contract, I am more than happy to correspond with you. And we can review that contract. But until then, hippity hoppity, get off my property. Again, if they do conduct an inspection, you have to get the report. It's okay if they email. You might even give them time to say, you know what, you go ahead and just email it to me. I don't like paper. And in this here, I only have 13. I thought that I printed off more. I apologize. I have 13. So if there are people who are partners in business, if you could please share, that'd be great, just to make sure that everybody that has a business can walk away with one. But that in here, I give exactly what was said between AHS and Susan. Email by email. There's the order. Here's what the appeal process looks like. Okay, so everything is in here. And if there's something missing, or if you have any questions, you have my number. And I have either myself, or I've got a growing number of people that are helping me out with this as well. They're going to help you out. Now, as a part of this, I encourage people to find signs to put on their door that are not AHS approved. Like the one you have, yeah. I've seen some really good ones. I've seen some really, really good ones. This one here says, all customers will be served. We will never discriminate against those who choose to wear masks or those who do not. But here's something that's actually quite interesting. No one can lawfully tell another man or woman to wear a mask. No. Exactly, or wear anything. Absolutely right. Also on this here are a couple of other important things. No solicitors welcome. Why do we put that on there? I'm not talking about the sales guy that wants to sell you like a new ATM machine or a Interact machine, or I'm not talking about someone that wants to sell you a security package or something like that. I'm talking about a different type of solicitor. Which one am I talking about?
Anybody who's not a customer is not welcome into your door.
Anybody who's not a customer, it's right. If they're not a customer, if they're not there to shop, they don't have to necessarily buy something, but they might be shopping. If they're not there to do that, they don't have to be there. But the reason why it's no solicitors welcome, remember, they are a corporation. And they're sending agents. Agent simply means actor. If you look up the Black's Law Dictionary, agent means actor. That's why they're called acts. They have to have actors talk about acts. It's not law. Also says, no government agents welcome, just to make sure that we're clear. And then the last point is, this is private property. Oh, it's public. I'm allowed to be here. Oh, you're trying to blur the lines, are you? Are you, excuse me, ma'am, what are you who are you known as?
Dr. Joni.
Dr. Joni? Wonderful. Dr. Joni, is your place of business, is the door open all the time or is it locked?
Actually, I have a home office.
Home office?
And I work online.
And she works online. Oh my goodness, you got the best of both worlds. That's awesome. Thank you very much for all that you're doing. I value what you're doing for people. And especially in a time where there's a lot of fear around health, you're doing probably one of the most important things that we can have in our communities. So thank you. Yeah. Who here has a traditional brick and mortar? I know Marla does, but anybody else? Over here?
Pizza. Yeah.
Sorry?
Right here.
Pizza?
Dover Pizza.
Dover Pizza?
Yeah.
Oh, are you located close by? Does anybody know where Dover Pizza is?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, up the street.
Just up the street.
Yeah.
Okay, so next weekend, everybody's buying pizza.
Marla too, because she doesn't have pizza here.
I don't have pizza here.
Oh, yeah. Man, next time we have a party,
Yeah.
we'll come here and drink and order pizza.
Yeah.
I am that kind of guy. I will take Wendy's burgers and go eat at McDonald's. I am that guy. Okay. You got your pizza place. Is the door typically open?
Yes.
All right. So that is what they will say. I mean the agents and solicitors that try to get you to do things.
Yeah.
They're going to say that that's public property because the door's open.
Right.
Guess what? They're wrong.
They're not paying my bills.
They're not paying the bills. Public property is completely different. It's what she has is a place that is generally accessible by the public, but it's private property.
That's why they can deny people not wearing masks.
That's why they can, thank you. That's why they can deny people who are not wearing masks because it's private property. Now here, I get it, folks. I get it. Before we get in, I know, I've used to think the same way. The first few months, I was like stomping my feet and being like a little kid, temper tantrums and all this stuff because you're not allowed to tell me that I have to wear a mask because you've got groceries or you got things that are essential services. I'm allowed to be here because it's generally accessible by the public. I'm allowed to be here, blah, blah, blah. I get that. And you know what? You should be. You should be allowed to go in there. But here's something that I stand for beyond all else. Property rights. I don't agree with how Costco runs their business. It's deplorable. It's stupid. And, by the way, if you look at the terms and conditions, any changes to their terms and conditions do not apply until you renew. That's correct. If you have not renewed your license since the mandates came out, or renewed your membership rather, if you have not renewed your membership since the mandates come out, their policies do not apply to you. Why? Because you haven't agreed to the new contract.
I got my card the day before.
Oh, you got your card the day before.
The day before the
Nice.
and I haven't been there since.
And haven't been there since. And you know what? There are a lot of places that I no longer go. I have friends that have businesses that I have now boycotted. Why?
Because they suck.
Because I believe so strongly in their freedom to operate their business however they please to the same level that I value the freedom of association. And here's the thing. And I get businesses to think about this. I get it. You don't want me in here because I'm not wearing a mask. I get it. I'm going to honor that. I'm going to walk out. But I just want to tell you something before I go. And that is, I have a lot of people in my network that would love to shop here, especially if you honor mask exemptions. But it's okay. I won't tell them to come. And when your business finally gets shut down, because it will, if you're compliant, it will. I don't say that part. But if your business shuts down, you cannot say that it was because of COVID.
It was because of you.
You shut your business down because you refused to provide service to people like me.
Biting the hand that feeds, man.
Bite the hand that feeds them.
Ooh, they should write a song about that.
Yeah. This here is another notice to put on your window or your door. Agents do not enter. Solicitors do not enter. Private property. Again. Trespass. Oh, that's the wrong word. Oh no, that's fine. Trespassers. That's fine. Trespassers are liable for harm and damage. I, man, or if you're a woman, I, woman, invoke the common law founded upon the Magna Carta. We invoke our God-given rights, autograph, and date. If you come onto my property, this is Exhibit A for your committing trespass.
Paul, I have a question on that.
You go ahead.
But we do have, like Paul has, or Marla has, everybody, we have a contract with AGLC.
Is it? Is it a contract? It's a liquor license.
They can pull it.
They could pull it.
By what age?
And you can appeal it. And there's a place when you do the appeal, there's a checkbox that says stay the order. It means that they cannot do it until the court is complete.
Which won't happen until 2050.
Yeah, pretty much.
Right now, yeah.
But here's
Once a month, give you a new license every month.
Yeah.
Until the court process finished.
no, not the microphone. Do not. You know what?
Was Marla
I-
speaking?
Marla, this is exactly the type of thing we're going to cover in the Q&A. Yeah, awesome. And great, amazing question, and I get it. But I want to cover that topic of the contract for just a second. Because AHS says the same thing about your business license with the city. Okay? Here's something that most people do not recognize about contracts. They have 3 criteria. Okay? Oh, before I go on, a lot of the content that I'm sharing here, even that last notice, and there's also this notice here that you can write to Dina Hinshaw. And it's an important part. But a lot of material that I'm pulling from here comes from a wealth of knowledge across this land. Okay? But one of the people that I highly respect here in Alberta, his name is Leo Cody. And he is a common law expert, has been doing this for 20 years. He's actually had judges thrown out of court for not observing common law.
Jesus.
Yeah. Very, very wise man. So a lot of this information I'm sharing with you comes from him. But here's the thing about contracts. There are 3 things that a contract must have, or else it's not a contract. First, a meeting of the minds. This is where you meet with the other who proposes the contract, and you go over item number 2. All terms and conditions. Full disclosure of all terms and conditions. And the third thing that makes a contract, and again, only after you agree to it, but even if you agree to it and these 3 things are not present, it was not a contract. The third thing is, it has to be an equal exchange. So your business license, $450, $500 a year? What is it right now? I haven't paid for one for years. How much is it? Yeah, I know Edmonton was $470 something.
Then it's gotta be the same here, it can't be different. I can't
It should be about the same. But anyways, it doesn't really matter what the price is. What are you getting in exchange? Specifically. What's the exchange?
The right to do business.
The right to do business. No, that's wrong because you already had that.
Yeah.
A piece of paper does not magically give you rights. Rights are yours.
You're getting fucked up the ass and not even getting paid.
Woo!
At least they stay on it. But it's true.
Okay.
It's registration money.
It's just a registration, that's all it is. But there's no exchange. There's actually no exchange. You're not getting anything. Here's what you're getting. This is what you're getting, guys. Think about this for a second. What is their response to you if you don't get a license? We're gonna fine you. Oh, so I'm paying a fee to protect me from you charging me a fee. That's extortion. You know who else does that? A mafia. And you know what's funny? Here's what's really funny. I bring this up now. I'm not going to say exactly what I am. If maybe in private we can talk about that. But as you can probably tell, I don't have much affinity for government, right?
Who does?
No, but I mean, I'm not even on the spectrum, guys. Like left, right, doesn't matter. They're both attached to the same bird of prey. Here's the thing.
You can get it out, come on.
I'm actually trying to remember where I was going with this. I get passionate, guys. So contract, it's not valid because they have to have meeting of the minds. Exchange. So exchange is you're paying them to not fine you, right? So here's the thing. I have this view about government, and a lot of people say that when I present my view on government, they say, well, in that world, what's going to happen is that these warlords are going to rise up and they're just going to control everybody and tell them what to do. Is that what we have right now?
Yeah.
I have never seen anything kill as many people as government. In fact, I've done the numbers. Did you know that in the 1900s, more people died by democide, which by definition is governments killing people. More people have died from democide than all in the 1900s alone from all other calamities, than all other calamities. Tuberculosis was the #1 disease that killed the most people out of all the healthcare concerns that we had in the 1900s. Tuberculosis was the worst. Government was 8 times worse in the 1900s. Okay? So I'm not going to go down that much for, again, privately maybe. This is a notice that you can send to Dina Hinshaw. It is templated, it is easy. You simply change out the things that you feel have been harmed. Okay? Some of the things that are in here that are harmed may not apply to you, because maybe you, as a man or a woman, didn't experience the harm that's listed here. So just change it out. But the rest is the same. Now, what does this do? It gives notice. Now, this is something that I'm actually working on extremely hard, and the reason why is because there are multiple entities around the world, including the World Freedom Alliance. If you don't know about the World Freedom Alliance, go check them out. They started Freedom Air. Airlines with no masks. They're running right now. Yeah. The World Freedom Alliance is a part of a worldwide initiative. There are over 60,000 lawyers, doctors, you name it, They're all getting together and they're doing a Nuremberg version 2.0. I'm not kidding, guys.
No mandated shots?
We are in a period of time where the consequences that occur from the choices that we make are going to be biblical in proportion to what we've experienced in the past. Nuremberg 1.0 was nothing compared to what's coming out. But here's the thing. The notices of liability need to be sent to the criminals who are abating this. They are culpable. And just like in Nuremberg 1.0, you couldn't use from that point on, you could not use the excuse, I was just following orders. Now with Nuremberg 2.0, I don't know what they're going to call it. I just made that up. Anyone who has received this notice and continues their actions after the date that you've served them, when the international tribunals are complete, when the international courts have found the guilt, which, by the way, Peru has already done. Yeah. People don't know this. The Supreme Court of Peru found Gates, Soros, and Fauci guilty of fraud.
Yep.
This is spreading fast, people. But here's the thing. If they don't have notice, they'll get off. They have to have notice in order for us to bring them to justice. And I mean true justice. This is not justice against the government, although that would be nice. Here's the thing. In common law, you can't bring justice to a corporation. You can only go after the man or the woman. This gives them notice where they have to behave. You were told that this was fraud. And you went and did it anyways. And now precedence is being set clear across this world. Did anybody know that Russia made a proclamation, Putin made basically an executive order saying that all restrictions should be lifted. And Moscow, and again, people think, some people think that Putin's a bad guy. And you know what? I don't agree with everything that Putin does. I certainly don't. But here's something else that's really good. People think that he's a dictator. He's not. All he did was that he said, I believe everybody should be lifting these restrictions because they're ridiculous. Moscow lifted them in 20 minutes.
Amazing.
Because they're ridiculous. As this spreads across the world, when it becomes precedent, Dina Hinshaw, the woman, not the chief medical officer of health, because that title is protected by the corporation. That's why we start corporations, is to have limited liability on us as a man or a woman. That's why we do that. This goes to the woman known as Dina Hinshaw, who sometimes acts like she's a chief medical officer of health. No, I'm saying that for real, guys. That's the level of authority she has. She's nothing. She's nothing. She's just another woman who's committing crimes. And this notice puts her liable. So fill this out and send it off. That's the most important reason why these need to be done. There's a second important reason, and are you ready for this? This is so that you can open up your store, and when agents come in, you can literally kick them in the butt on the way out. I'm not joking. Don't actually do that, by the way. That's assault.
Can we send one to Jason Canny?
Please do. Please send it to Jason Canny. Please send it to every subordinate of his. Please send it to every level of AHS. Please send it to every level of the media. Please send it to everybody that you have ever witnessed create harm. Because they will all go down. When this comes through, I'm not kidding, guys. Like I'm just a normal guy up here. But my network is so strong, I get to see some of the things that are happening that never go into the news. And they're not even articles on the internet or anything like that. This is happening in conference calls. Okay? These people are going down. They are not winning. They may win some battles, but they are not winning this war. They are not winning the war. And here's how you know they're not winning. They come up with more ridiculous shit. If they didn't do that, they'd be winning. But because they're not winning, they got to come up with something new, like a new variant. Or you better put on 3 masks. Like, it's just getting so ridiculous. And the reason why is because they're losing.
Or anal swabbing.
Or yeah, definitely anal swabbing. That's great, man. That's awesome. I've told people, that's a really good. Actually, I like it when people do that. Like, that's good. If you're so stupid to do that, please, by all means, after you're done, use it in your nose too.
For respiratory disease, right?
Okay. So the second reason why that notice is so important is so that when the agents come in, you have paperwork, and you can say, excuse me, I get that you want to be here, but I have legal and lawful notice given to your superior that what you're doing right now is trespass. I know from the bottom of my heart that she would appreciate it if you contact her and talk to her about doing this first. Please, just go and talk to her, because she's not going to want you to be trespassing, because it's on her if you're here. You can be here, but if you're here to conduct any kind of official business with the government corporation, or the corporation of AHS, which is contracted by the government, you're on official business from Dina Hinshaw's order, she's going to really appreciate it if you just go and talk to her to make sure that she's okay with you trespass. Next paper I have here is what it looks like to request an appeal. So in case you do get an order, or you get a fine, or whatever else, you just make a request for an appeal. You say, I require full disclosure. That's it. Whistle Stop Cafe got their fine thrown out. Why? Because they asked for full disclosure. That's it. I went longer than I anticipated. We're going to go into some Q&A though, because that's where a lot of the meat and potatoes actually comes out of. That's the foundation. Guys, tell me something though before we get into Q&A. Was this helpful in helping you get a mindset and like kind of fortitude for yourself?
Yes.
Yeah? Okay. Are you free?
Yes.
Yeah, you are. Now explain the AGLC stuff. So, with AGLC, they're going to threaten to pull your license. In the Criminal Code of Canada, Section 423, they are guilty of an indictable offense. Why? Because the license is considered, even in their bogus legal system, a license is considered a tool of the trade. And it is against the law, and it is against the criminal code to threaten or take anyone's tool of their trade. Up to 2 years in prison. Isn't that something? Craziness. Craziness that goes on out there. But beyond that, I know how much we feel that we need to have that license in order to conduct business. I get that. And if you don't have it, they are going to threaten you with closing down your store. I get that. That's a very real thing. Folks, they have the guns. I get it. It's not going to be easy. There are going to be things that are going to be very, very tough. There are going to be great risks that you're taking as business owners doing this. I am not going to paint this rose-colored, guys. This is dangerous. It really is. But you want to know what? I talked to the bar owner that is across the street from my house. You know what she told me? Marla, you said the same thing. I'm going to lose everything. What's a license? I gotta open my store. I got people who love to be here and they can't be here. Sometimes The only time they can spend time with their friends is when they're here. And I'm going to lose everything if I don't open my store now. The good news is you can open your stores. Open your bars, open the pubs. All good revolutions start in pubs, by the way. And churches. I'm not religious, folks. I'm very spiritual, but I'm not religious. But here's the thing: is the reason why they're making these restrictions is because things like this end up happening, and it's a threat to them, right? Now, I answered a little bit. I hope, does that help?
She wants to know why we have to close at 10 o'clock. COVID comes out at 10:01.
You don't have to close at 10.
No, well, actually it's 11 p.m. Yeah, we can't sell you any alcohol after 10.
You can't sell alcohol after 10. You have to close at 11. Yep, and again, I'm telling you, there is a risk to you staying open past that time. There's a risk to serving alcohol past that time. You could be threatened to lose your license. Invoke that's where you have section 423. You can say, whoa. I get that that's what you want to do, but the license is considered by you to be a tool of my trade.
The license comes through AHS.
The
AGLC has to comply with AHS.
AGLC has to comply with AHS. Yep, and AHS has no authority whatsoever to pull a license of any kind. AHS has no authority to pull any license of any kind. AGLC has no authority to pull your license.
Or your VLTs, right?
Or your VLTs.
Yeah, exactly.
They'll say that they do. And here's, I get it. They they have the guns, but that doesn't give them the authority. And maybe I should be more clarifying. I'm using specific language here. They have the power, I get that. They have the power, and that's why there's a risk to this. But if we all do this together, they can't pin us down. What's happening right now?
No money. If no one renews their AGLC license
Yep.
and just continues to sell booze, guess what? They are not making any
That's
money.
right. I have the bar that's across from my house. She's working a deal with the liquor store down the road. And because you can buy without having a license there, right? They're making a deal. I will sell you, because their business is suffering too. They're just a local shop selling booze. So they're saying, I will sell you booze without a license so that you can get going, and I'll do it at a reduced rate because I need the business too. And they're making deals. Yes.
I've got a friend in Inglewood who has a restaurant, and
Yep.
he was, wanting to open, and I said, worried that they would take his license, and I said, I will eat your unlicensed food and drink your unlicensed wine.
Yeah.
The food at my house has no license.
Yeah, that's right.
Doesn't kill me.
Or the grocery store. But the food from the grocery store is killing.
Great point. You know, in we did this too. This was earlier, probably about I'd say 6 weeks ago or so. Susan, who was getting accosted by AHS repeatedly until they finally had to leave because we caught them in 5 lies. 5 lies. They came and they eventually left. But what they said was, well, the contract is your business license. No, it's not, because why? There was no meeting of the minds to go over the disclosure of the terms and conditions, and there's no exchange between the two parties. So they said, we'll pull your license. Okay, we don't need it. Like, what an empty threat. You know, it's crazy that they do it, but whatever. We don't need the business license. And to prove a point, what I did at the event that I was teaching other businesses how to do this lawfully and how to structure this, kind of like what I'm doing here. I was not nearly into this as I am now at that time. But all we did was, I told Susan, I said, Susan, isn't that your business license there on the wall? And there it is right there. She goes, yeah. I said, bring it over here. So she went over there, brought it over, and I said, do you want this? Do you really need it? She goes, well, no. And I said, okay, great. So I took it out of the frame and I put it on the piece of paper and I gave her a black marker and I said, write rescinded on it. So she did. She wrote rescinded. I said, great, send it back to the city. And she goes, okay. And I said, now folks, this is rescinded right now, even though it's not been submitted. She wrote it. She's withdrawn her consent. Now she doesn't have a business license. What now? Oh no, she can't do business. Guess what I did right then and there? I bought a candle from her for $20. And I said, you did business without a business license? How is that possible? There's a question over there.
I was just wondering, so are you suggesting that all business owners then, that we don't buy business licenses, that we don't buy the AGLC, are you suggesting that we don't buy business licenses, that we don't buy AGLC or pay fees for those types of things? Is that what you're suggesting we're doing?
That's a great question. I'm encouraging people to take a look at their own situations. Maybe you can get by without getting rid of them. Maybe you can't. And maybe you're more risk averse. And maybe you don't care. Maybe the risk is nothing to you. I'm not gonna make the recommendation. I'm not a business coach in that respect. I'm not a lawyer, so I don't have any legal advice whatsoever. But I do know this: you don't need it to conduct business, because conducting business is your right, and that's not something that they can give. That's something that you're born with.
Do you not think though, like when some of these things, if you didn't actually comply with these, and like you say, they do have the gun, when they go to court, why don't we all just go to court?
Yes.
And deal with this? Because like from everything that I get, but we don't run the court system, they run the court system. So you're going to lose when you go to the courts.
So I'm gonna share with you a maxim that is within the legal system. And that maxim is simple. Let the deceived be deceived. What does that mean? It means that in the legal system, a maxim is really just like a code of ethics. Okay? That's what a maxim is. Basically, it's a principle that we live by. In the legal system, the judges and the lawyers, members of the bar, they live by this maxim. Let the deceived be deceived. The truth of the matter is, you don't need to do any of that. They have the guns, I get it, but if we all do it together, you're right, that's where the power is. And they are gonna pick us off. Like right now, that's what we're kind of dealing with right now in Alberta. And I believe it's because we don't have enough people who are up against the wall. I truly believe that. And my heart goes out to them because I want them to be able to stand up. But maybe that's because they still have 6 months in the bank. I don't know. I don't know what it is. They're holding out. And that's the number one conversation that I'm having with these people. They're saying, I'm just going to wait another 3 weeks and see what Kenny says. I can't help them. I can't help them. But the fact that their power that they have is only because there are enough people complying. That's it. And so yes, they have the guns, and sir, I appreciate the question. But if we can all do this together, they cannot force you to do anything, even with guns.
Well, another thing that I was just wondering though, you're saying that they're or what I'm kind of getting out of it, and I might be getting this wrong, you're basically saying there is no laws, but you're saying we'll use the law to beat them.
Correct. So common law is the precedent for Canada. It is it is what the judicial system of Canada was built upon. Everything that came after was an afterthought. And the majority of what they've built has been built after the de facto government took position. Because Britain told the Dominion of Canada, we don't want you to be a Dominion of Canada anymore, we want you to be your own sovereign nation. And the officials at the time said, well, we don't want that because then that means the people are going to be free. We don't want that, so we're just gonna not be sovereign. And so then the de facto government appeared, and that's when they started the corporation. So the law, as it pertains to you as a man, has standing in court. And here's the thing, if you're going to court, I encourage you to use the word at court, not in court. And the reason why is because there's a distinction there. if you are in court, it's not your court. But remember, you are flesh and blood, man and woman. You have authority over them. In court, if you maintain your standing, it's yours. Because they are a corporation, they're under you. They have no standing over you as a man. They pull you into their jurisdiction with trick words like, what's your name? They pull you into their jurisdiction with things like, are you the business owner? Because if they can get you under a title, now you're no longer a man. Now being a business owner, you're in their jurisdiction. And again, I'm going to reiterate, folks, I'm not the expert at this. I'm not going to even profess to be remotely expert at this. But if you end up going at court, I can put you in touch with someone who will accompany you and speak on your behalf so that you do not lose your standing as a man. And the entire time that court is in session, it's yours.
And great, but again, from what I'm hearing,
yeah,
is you're saying that there's laws, but there is no laws. So you're using the laws that have been built by the de facto governments against the de facto government, but you're saying that those laws are technically not legal or
I see your question. Thank you for clarifying. Now I'm getting you. I would love to talk to you more, but it looks like you might have the answer.
I do. He's talking about common law and maritime law.
Correct. Absolutely. So the laws that I'm speaking of that you abide by are not the legal things that they're trying to pin onto you. So I can sometimes pull at the legal system a little bit and show these agents where they've gone wrong. Like for instance, the criminal code, section 423. There's another one, I think it's 317, that talks about how if you walk into a place of business and they make you wear a mask and they start getting agitated, I think it's 317, I'd have to double check. Criminal code's 317, don't quote me on that number, but there is, in the criminal code, it speaks specifically about creating a disturbance that may give you the fear of being in public. It's against the law on their side, and rightfully so, it's against common law for another man or woman to tell you what to do with your face. So I hope that clears up a little bit more, but yes, you're right. There are things in the legal system that we can pull at to make them unravel a little bit. But when it comes right down to it, if you are in the legal system in court, you're going to get murdered because it's built to do that. Because what they're doing is that they are dealing with you as a person, not as a man. And there's a difference. Look it up, guys. Black's Law Dictionary. This is all out in the open. This is all out in the open. In Black's Law Dictionary, a person is defined as a fictitious entity. Fictitious entity.
Their name in capital letters is a fictitious entity.
Correct. And the reason why it's capitalized is because they can capitalize on you. No, guys, I'm not kidding. This is what they're doing. They're using language to latch onto you and pull you in. But guess what? You're a woman. You're a man. You're a man. You're a woman. Like, their codes, their acts, their policies cannot be latched to a man or a woman. They can only be latched to a corporation under contract. Yes.
And their fear, transgender, is how they're trying to hide the very fact you're talking about.
Yeah, totally.
This is why they have the transgender agenda.
Yep.
They're muddying the water so you don't figure out what he's talking about.
Don't identify yourself as a man or a woman.
And nothing else.
Because if you do that, then we can't have jurisdiction over you. There's a hand way back over there.
So I can be my own imaginary best friend?
You can be... Guess what?
You already are.
Guess what? You are self-governing. You are self-governing, and I love that. More questions? We got 2 more people that are going to come up, and they are also very powerful. And it's going to be they're not going to speak nearly as long as I am. We're going to close things up soon. One question over here, yeah.
Was your microphone, was it like sanitized before you guys?
You know what? Yeah, you know what? I sanitized it.
It's scared, right? Nobody's.
So here's the thing, guys. Look up Dr. Zach Bush. Dr. Zach Bush. And there's a rabbit hole there. Start with him. But there's a rabbit hole there. And if you go down that rabbit hole properly, with an open mind, you will discover something very... And you, my dear sweet lady, you will know this. The germ theory has been debunked. So this here microphone does not need to be sanitized.
We're starting karaoke on Thursday? Just so I'm kidding.
Okay. Are there any other questions? You guys are awesome, by the way.
What was the doctor's name again?
Dr. Zach Bush. And I'm going to give you another doctor. He's not a medical doctor, but he has a doctorate. Dr. David E. Martin.
Yes.
You want to see the can of worms open up? Dr. David E. Martin. And what's so powerful about him is that he's still on YouTube.
Yeah.
And the reason why, here's the reason why, is because most people, it goes over their head, and so they don't go through with what he's presenting. So he doesn't have the influence, so he's not a risk to YouTube. But if you go down that rabbit hole, you'll find out why Peru found Gates, Fauci, and Soros guilty of fraud. He has all the evidence. Because that was his job for the last 20, 25 years. Someone may correct me on that. But his job has been to basically, he has, the analogy that he gives is that Google is a search engine, right? No. It is an opinion engine. He has an actual search engine that searches every piece of paperwork from every university, every government corporation, every legal documentation, everything that is ever been used by any one of those entities into a database. And as a result of that technology that he built, last year he discovered the origin of COVID. And I can tell you right now, that rabbit hole is fun. Thank you again. You guys are amazing. I want to do, I'm going to bring up 2 more people. The first of which is here in the room. We're very, very pleased to have someone from the Independence Party of Alberta. Yep. Her name is Vicki Bayford. Am I saying that correct? Vicki Bayford is here. She is the CFO, so Chief Financial Officer and Communications Director for the Independence Party of Alberta. Now, I'm a very apolitical man, okay? But I have peered into what the Alberta Independence Party is doing, or Independence Party of Alberta rather, is doing, and I'm impressed. Because they actually share the same values as I do. They actually share the same values as you do. They actually share the same values as freedom, sovereignty, self-governance. So, please welcome warmly Vicki.
I'm a little shorter. Thank you so much for that very nice introduction. I really appreciate it. And thank you, Marla, for having us out today. I really appreciate it. And thank you for getting this gathering together, because I think things like this, in this time right now, are one of the most important things that we can be doing. I'll give you a little bit of my story. Even before I joined the party, because I joined the party, I think in June of 2020. So I was relatively new with the party before. But so prior to me joining, that's why I want to give you this history. So COVID hit. And at first, like everybody else, I was like, what the hell? Oh my God, pandemic. Oh my God, everybody hide. And, we got shut down and I was working from home and then I slipped on the ice and I broke my wrist and I went to the hospital and it was empty. I was hiding in my house for 3 weeks and then I go to the hospital. I've never been in and out of a hospital so fast in my life. I was like, okay, and I was like, and then after that, the next couple weeks, I was just questioning, and so I actually started doing some, Google opinion searching, trying to figure out what was going on, and even talking to my friends. Well, do you know anyone that had COVID? Do you know anyone that's been really sick? Do you know anyone that's died? Because all you're seeing is stats, cases on the news, and none of it was making sense. So. And then they were talking about these masks, and I was like, putting something on my face. One, I have, it's going to sound like, maybe a little bit of a baby thing, but I have really sensitive skin. I put something on my face, and I get blisters. It's terrible. Marla actually can relate with me on that. So I was like, I'm not doing it. So I went to work, and when we were allowed back to work, I just wouldn't do it. And then I ended up having many conversations with HR and coming down to an agreement. I still have yet to wear a mask, and I just won't. Just like you said, we're sovereign beings, and I don't think there's anyone on this planet that has the right to tell me what to do with my body. So it's my health, and I'm in charge of it, and I've always been in charge of it. I make those decisions about my health, not a government. So anyway, so moving on, I was trying to figure out ways I could, let everybody else know what I was finding out. So I started going to rallies, and I've probably been going to rallies since the end of May, and I have not stopped. I go to every rally that I'm able to go to. I try and support, this community really, essentially, and the best way I can. I try to educate the people that I know that are living in fear. Because I think that's probably, for all of us, one of the most important jobs all of us need to be doing. We can't push it on people. We can't tell people that they're wrong. We can't tell them that they're stupid. We can't tell them to stop being, how they are, because they feel the way they are because they've been indoctrinated with so much false information. But if you do it softly and you give them a chance and you do it with love, I do really feel like you do change people's minds. I've probably noticed it more in the last 3 months, where I've had people emailing me, my family, that was really against me for a really long time because I was broadcasting the rallies and things like that, and they really didn't like it. And they were concerned about me. They thought my mental health was deteriorating.
It is, because you were locked in your house.
Right? So anyway, but I've found the last 3 months, just with the approach that I've been trying to use and trying to be patient with people, I've had great uncles, cousins, people come, just old friends, popping out and saying, I didn't wear a mask today. And it just seems like something silly, but it's a big thing. For them, this is a huge thing. So they'll text me and be like, I just chose after today, I'm never wearing a mask again. And I'm like, well, good for you. And I tell them, that's great, good, keep it up. And I don't tell them that because, it's really, I just will never accept it is just a mask. It isn't just a mask, and we all know that. And it is going to be really bad on so many people's health in the future, and we all know that too. So anyway, so I guess I'll fast forward or go backwards a little bit. So I was trying to find ways that I could make a change, because I've never really been interested in politics. I've never really been interested in really any type of movement. I was happy. I was just living my life. I was just doing what I do. I'm a consultant. I go to work. I work in regulatory actually for an oil and gas company, or a few.
And now you're a hippie chick.
Yeah, now I'm not. Now I'm the crazy conspiracy theory lady, apparently. But anyway, so yeah, I was trying to find other ways I could contribute, and I found a really great group of people in the Independence Party. They shared a lot of the values. I obviously asked them a lot of questions before I joined and just became a member, and you know, they were online with everything that I was feeling, everything that I was thinking. And originally just started with me just joining a couple committees. I became a member, joined a few committees, so I was on like the social programs committee and then the tax committee and things like that, and ended up getting really good relationships with our board of directors. And eventually an opening came up for the CFO, and then the communications director position came up, and I decided to join. And I feel like in this way I've been able to contribute and get this message out way easier through this platform. And I also know that the policies and the programs that we're coming up with as a political party are going to actually make a difference. We are not the same old rehashed over political party that, you know, I've lived with my whole entire life, that you guys have lived with your whole entire life. And it is time, in my opinion, to become our own nation, to become smaller. Because the smaller our government can be, the more control we have, and the more accountable we can make this government. Right now there is zero accountability. We all know this. Our federal government can just basically do whatever the hell they want and get away with it. We know what Justin Trudeau's broken how many laws since he started? Everyone.
One of them that he says he breaks.
We have zero opposition. They're basically little finger puppets that are just falling in line. And Kenny's no different. You know, I voted for Kenny. I had so much hope. I bet you most of the people in this room voted for Kenny.
I did not vote.
So, you know, like we had hope for this man that was going to, you know, bring back business, help our oil and gas industry, bring back Alberta to where it was at one point when we were a thriving province. And, you know, now he's, you know, conveniently gets to use COVID as an excuse. But now he's just becoming another dictator. He's no different than anybody else. And our system is never going to change. It is like you said earlier, it is a completely broken system. And without secession, we have no future. Our children have no future. And I know it seems like a really drastic step, but it is the only step we have. Just like standing up, like everyone in this room is doing right now. Everyone in this room is standing up and saying we are not going to take any more. So good job, all of you. So I just wanted to end this. I don't want to be too long. So I just wanted to say thank you, Marla, and all of you other businesses that are opening, and stay open. No matter what, stay open. There is support. There is support. And that's another thing I want to throw out there before I forget. We are here as a party. We will find you the support. We are not experts at everything. We are a very, at this point, small but very fast growing party. But we will find support. We can find volunteers, and we have so many people really that if given an opportunity, even if it's just for research, if it's for group funding, if it's for whatever, we will use our platforms to support all of you. So if you need the help, reach out and ask, and we will do our best to find you the resources you need. So I will leave it on that. Thank you, all of you guys. Thank you for being brave. Thank you for showing up. And, you know, if you have any questions, feel free to come to our table. We're just over here. Thank you so much, everyone.
The website's up on the screen as well, so people definitely read about what they're doing. Read about what they're doing. Again, I'm apolitical. I am so far off the spectrum, it's not even funny. But I admire what they're doing. Next. Lastly, is he here? Is Will Dove? There he is. There's the man. going to bring up Will Dove. I don't know very much about his organization. He's going to introduce himself and the work that he's doing. But the fact that he's here tells me he's on our side. Thank you very much.
Hey, what can you say to Hinshaw?
Paul.
You left the toilet seat up again. What do you call double masking? Twice as useless. So I am Will Dove, and I am the founder of endalbertalockdown.com. Our petition, which is just one of the many tools we're using to raise awareness and fight the lockdowns here in Alberta, now has 10,000 signatures. So if you haven't heard of us, please go home and sign it. If you've maybe had a beer or two, and you can't remember End Alberta Lockdown until you get home, or maybe had 4 or 5, can't remember where home is, can't help you with that one. But over on the bar there, by the big white collection box, find a stack of these cards. It's got our web address on it. Take that home with you, sign the petition. Every time someone signs that petition, it gets automatically emailed to all the MPs and MLAs in your area. So if you haven't heard of us, I guarantee you your politicians have. And if you'd like them to hear from you, join us, sign the petition. Sign up for our email, our newsletter as well. You're gonna find lots of tools on our website, and I'm only gonna be up here, I promise, for a few minutes, probably because it's been going on for a long time. You guys are getting bored, but also because I have to go to the bathroom. But I'm gonna give you a couple of tools right now that you guys can use right now. So, how many people here cannot wear a mask? Right. See, now you look at me, I look pretty fit. I mean, I'm 50 something, not telling. But I look pretty fit, right? I mean, surely I should be able to wear a mask, come on. Yeah, except that 5 years ago, I'm sorry, I gotta take this thing. Can I take this thing? There we go, that's much better, now I can talk. I don't like having that thing between me and you guys. I feel like there's a barrier there. 5 years ago, I had stage 4 throat cancer. You wanna guess what 33 rounds of consecutive radiation does to your trachea? Yeah, I'm already breathing through a garden hose. You want me to put a cloth through my face? Are you freaking kidding me? So this one really shocked me. I was in Safeway on Friday. And you know what? They have it on their PA system now. No exceptions. Really. So there I am doing my shopping without my mask, as I always am. And I hear behind me, sir, do you need a mask? He's one of the managers. I said, no, I don't need a mask. What I need to do is show you this. And you can get one of these for free. This is from a lawyer. It's a medical exemption card. On the back, it has the lawyer's law membership card and a wonderful little hint of legal menace. It says, notice of liability. If you fail to honor this exemption card, legal action may be taken against you. So you go to our website and you will find the mask tools section and you will find the link to where you can get one of these for free. And let me tell you, this works because boy did she back down fast.
That's awesome.
So the second thing that we're doing that's coming out this week, how many business owners do we have here? Okay guys, so I want to thank Paul and Chris for the great talks that they gave and all the information they've given us. But reopening your businesses doesn't do you any good if you don't have any customers. Correct. So what are we going to do about that? Later this week, we got one little bug to fix. Let's get in there. Later this week, we're opening a business directory on our website. Now, we get donations in. I don't want to give you the idea we're loaded or anything, but every dime we get goes towards this fight. I've been doing this now since September. My wife's a teacher. I'm a web developer by trade. I spend anywhere between 6 to 12 hours every day working on this initiative, this fight. That's all donated time. Every dime we get goes towards this fight. So one of the things we found works really well is Facebook advertising when they don't shut us down, but we're figuring out how to get around that. And we're going to be putting out Facebook ads for this business directory. So as soon as it's up, you're going to be able to go to our website, you're going to be able to register your business, you're going to be able to put in there very diplomatically worded your mask and contact tracing policies. And we're going to be advertising that to drive customers to your business. Now, here's the big thing. Some of you are probably thinking, well, yeah, but I mean, if I tell people that we're not going to force them to wear masks, and I tell people we're not going to force them to contact trace, well, they're going to hate us because the government and the news say that everybody's on board with all this. Yeah, right. So, not buying into their bullshit, January 31st, just a few weeks ago, we launched another website. It's called COVIDsurveyAlberta.com. It's unbranded. It's 35 neutrally worded questions about Albertans' opinions about COVID and our government's response to it. Since then, that's what, three weeks? 3 weeks? Yeah, we have over 6,000 responses. And if you go and take the survey, you can view the results. You want to get what the results say? People aren't buying the bullshit. That's what it says. People do not believe that it's a dangerous virus. People do not believe that masks work. People do not believe lockdowns work. They are sick to death of this crap. So if you want to go onto our website this week and you want to register your business and we will advertise that directory, I guarantee you people are going to show up. Because here's the last part of it. How do we end all this? So we've learned a lot of lessons in the last 6 months running this organization. And we're taking all of those lessons. And in about 3 more weeks, about the middle of the month, we're launching a Canada-wide initiative that we believe is going to end this for good. It's called neveragaincanada.org. And it is a umbrella organization, anti-coalition lockdown for every organization and business organization, anti-lockdown organization across Canada to come together and declare our intent to not cooperate with any future lockdowns. Yes. Because here's the thing. If you stand up on your own, as Marla, very courageous woman, thank you, has found out, as Chris found out, there's more of them than there is of you. But what happened in Italy, mid-January? 50,000 restaurants opened,
Yes, that's right.
and millions of Italians went to those restaurants. And when the police thugs showed up, they threw them out. So all we need to do is the same thing here in Canada. And we predict that by the end of this year, when they try to put in another round of full lockdowns, and believe me folks, they're going to, that's their plan, that's the COVID-21, that's the B117, November, December, there's going to be another one. They're going to try to lock everybody down, shut all your businesses down again. Except we're going to have 20 to 30,000 at least businesses across this country on board with Never Again Canada. We're going to have 500,000 to 1 million citizens who said, we're going to go and patronize those businesses, and it's not going to happen. Thank you. Yo.
You talk about contact tracing. My business, we don't have that. You talk about support. This is where I have a problem. Salon support, bar support, restaurant support. I own a bowling alley. I have Dick. Okay? And he doesn't support me at all. Most of us bowling alleys, the small ones, we're getting nowhere. The big ones, the corporations, don't give a shoot butt about us. Because they're owned by a corporation.
Right.
Okay, so the small proprietor, which I am, I have 8 lanes. Okay, for me to open up, if I can't get, and you talk about the people coming in, $40 isn't going to cut my rent. $100 isn't going to cut my rent. If I can't get my leads back in, which is guaranteed language, I'm SOL. So the thing is, it's all fine and dandy to say for most of the businesses to open, but there's a lot of us that our hands are sitting in handcuffs right now because no one wants to come. No one. I mean, I even was going to open on January the 12th. I had 2 people say, yeah, we'll come.
Okay.
That's
No.
not going to help me, but that's going to get me arrested or charged. I don't care about the fines. I'll take 100,000 fines. I don't care about those. But I need the people to come in, and that's my problem. Because I don't have that magnitude of support from all the other same type of businesses.
Right. And I understand. You're absolutely right.
What bowling alley do you own?
Leduc. I'm the one who's on TV. I'm about to lose my home. Like 100%.
Like Alberta?
Yeah.
So I'm standing to lose everything, not just the business. I will be on the street without a house. if I don't find some way to manage this in the next 30 days.
And you have 8 lanes.
Come live with us.
We'll take care of you.
You need to do this. You need to rally the people.
You have 8 lanes.
Have a
so
cohort
40
and have the people come
at
in.
one time.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try and rally up enough people.
Yes.
I'm gonna come
We tried
bowling.
that with Go Alberta or Angry Alberta. We tried
I'm
it.
gonna come and
Everything.
friggin', I'm gonna get my little brat.
Pardon me?
My brat is, I'll bring 8 people to your bowling alley on Saturday.
Well, anything's possible, but I've got to, that's not gonna cover a heck of a lot of rent. Do you know what I'm saying? I need, what, we're gonna get these organizations such as yourself and the lockdown, and I'm all for it. I'm gonna 100% on board to do everything possible. But you still have to get consistency for some of the businesses.
You're right.
And the salons did wonderful. That's why they opened. The restaurants did wonderful. So did the bars. I don't like the conditions
every other
that
level of
garbage.
government and
Okay?
Right, thank you.
But at least allow them to get open. At least it's a start. They're not even allowing that on me. Because as far as they're concerned, the comment that was said to me is COVID lives on dust.
That's what they said to you?
Yep.
Oh, dear God. That's why the gyms are closed
There's dust here
too?
now. There's dust in your home, there's dust on your shoes, dust on your car. But I can sterilize that bowling alley 5 times in a day. I'm going overboard. It doesn't make any difference.
May I ask your name, please?
I'm Scarlett McCaffrey.
Scarlett, I'm going to give you an honest answer to a very good question. You're right. We can't solve everybody's problems. We can't save everybody. And what's being done to you is criminal. I'm going to tell you a little personal story about why we started this organization, my wife and I. Are we fighting for freedoms? Yeah. Are we fighting for people's businesses? Yeah. But that's not why we started it. First lockdowns came in into March. See, our son, he's a bit of a social butterfly. He's in high school, and he loves having friends, so he would have friends over to our house every Wednesday night. And they'd come over, they'd play games together. And one of the girls in the group, she didn't have a very good home life. She's a single parent, abusive home. So she told our son, those Wednesday nights, that was the high point of her week. She lived for that. But that was a year ago. And 3 weeks into the first lockdown, she went into her basement and she hung herself. A 15-year-old girl. That's why we're fighting. Because they're destroying people's lives, including yours. And I'm sorry, we probably can't help you. Not right now. I wish we could, because we can't help everyone. All we can do is fight back. And we are fighting back as hard as we can with everything we've got.
Thank you.
I don't know how you're going to hold on. I'm so sorry. I wish I had an answer. All I can tell you is, if this thing works, and we believe it will, the end of this year, this is all going to end. Because when those 20 to 30,000 businesses across the country open, and our government is powerless to shut them down, everybody else will follow, and it'll be back to business as normal. And I'm so sorry, it's probably going to be too late for you. It's going to be too late for a lot of people. It's going to be too late for Lauren and all the other kids who've killed themselves. You're damn right they're not. Yes, I know. I know. Believe me, I know. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. You know, I've just got a couple other things that I want to mention. Are Janice and Steve still here? They ended up leaving. Okay. I should have spoke about them earlier. They were here from the Legion, the Forest Lawn Legion. I'm not from here, so I'm not sure where that is in comparison. It's not far. Okay. You know what? They're dealing with a crisis. The people who frequent all the legions are for sure. But they're dealing with the people who are the most susceptible to this, but they are also dealing with the people who need the most community.
Don't make that call.
These people fought, bled, died, got dismembered, maimed, watched the horrors of their own friends, neighbors, brothers, spill blood, so that we don't have a government that's doing what we're doing right now, or what's happening right now. That's why they did that. And here it is happening. If you know of anybody that is elderly, do whatever you can to go and visit them. If there's anything that you feel that you can do to help the Legion, go and do that. They need community more than ever right now. It's a very, very serious thing. Those people are the reason why we had the freedoms that we had, and they're the reason why there are enough of us who know what they did and why they did it. Now, I am anti-war there and back again. But what they did was so that we don't have the government that we have right now. And it hurts me deeply that they're not allowed to meet and talk and visit and have community. I know a woman in Edmonton who kidnapped her grandmother out of an old folks home for Christmas. Kidnapped her. It was an epic story. And the grandmother, she said, everything I've ever wanted, I got to have for Christmas. Isn't that something? That's all they need. They just need connection. And I'm very, very sorry that I didn't get to say that while they were here, because they need that support. And if you're able to, go reach out to them. I'm sure Marla has their contact information. Reach out to them. Find out how you can help in that community. They need to know. And Marla was sharing with me a story where a gentleman, he was elderly, and he came to the door, knocked on the, you were closed, knocked on the door, and she came and answered. Elderly, old man. He had heard about what was going on. And he heard about the fact that she had this fine that she couldn't even afford to pay. And this elderly man took out a $100 bill and gave it to her and said, keep doing what you're doing. Isn't that cool?
It's amazing.
And he said, I'm appalled at what's happening. Because he fought for that. He fought for our freedom as well. Now, that's a little bit dark. It's a little bit heavy. I want to lighten things up. All of you here, you started a community.
Yes.
You already have now a community. I encourage you to get together, meet with each other, exchange information, and support each other's businesses. That's the first thing. The only way we're going to be able to get through this is through community. We cannot do this without community. Connect, gather, do it. Up in Edmonton, we have an illegal farmers market happening. Yeah, we do. Over 100 people show up every week. Illegally, of course. But lawfully. Exactly, but lawfully. Do it. 3 times a week, we're usually getting together for something, sometimes 4 times a week. This week it's 4, because there was a market today. I missed the market because I came down here. Tomorrow we have a notice of liability writing, where we're actually getting together, we're putting tables together, and we're taking out our papers and pens, and we're writing these notices of liability to the media. That's who we're focusing on right now. And you should see some of the strong words that we're using. All honorable, but very, very firm. You are an accomplice in crime. We also have basically like a town hall type thing, because our community is growing to the point now where we've actually started our own court. I know that sounds ridiculous, but we have, and we've even held court. Again, small matters, but that's what communities do. They work together, they build assemblies, they build communities, and they start to self-govern. That's how it's done. And what the Alberta Independence Party, I'm going to say it wrong again, Independence Party of Alberta, what they're doing is very, very similar. They want to see cell groups start and build from grassroots origins. That's how we do it. Now, I don't care how we do this. I really don't. I don't care who has the right answers. Like, the work that I'm bringing forward here is a result of 20 years of getting to know how free we really, really are, but we've been deceived to believe we're not. But I'm pulling resources from wherever it works. I'm not attached to it being, letsallopen.com. I'm not all attached to it being a certain political party. I'm not attached to any one of them. Here's what I do know. The only way we're going to get out of this is if we're unified on one thing. It doesn't have to be under an umbrella of a corporation or a brand or an entity or anything like that. It doesn't have to be any of that. This is what our unity has to be on. The intention of how free we really are.
Yeah. Amen.
And what group does it, what man or woman brings it forward, I don't care. Let's do this. And we're doing it. It's happening, and it's happening quickly. And if you have questions, and if you guys, if someone in the room, it doesn't have to be everybody here, but if someone in the room is curious about how they can start their own little community, we have found that by starting that market where no one shows up with masks is very, very powerful. I will tell you how powerful it is. I walked through the dollar store I can't even remember what I was there for, probably picking up a light bulb or something like that. And I come around a corner and there's a woman and she almost bumps into me. And I mean, like, we're really, no social distancing. She's not wearing a mask, and right away she goes, but then she sees I'm not wearing a mask. And she goes, another one!
Another alien!
And I was like, yes! And she goes, this amazing. It's just so rare to see a face. And I said, you know what's even more rare? And she goes, what? A hug. So we hugged right there in the middle of dollar store, and people were staring at us. What the fuck is going on over there? Yeah. And then she came to the market because she knew as soon as she saw me that she needed to be a part of our community. She brought a friend who was still wearing a mask because she thought she had to. She had a hair business. She was doing hair. Not doing so well. Needed to do hair. That's her art. Her art was taken from her. So she asked if she could come and if someone there would maybe need some hair done. And this lady that I met in the dollar store was like, well, yeah, sure, come on down. I'm sure people down, I know, yes, there are people there who need to get their hair done. So please, come on down. So she did, but she was wearing a mask. Here's where the power is. She got set up because the market was still beginning. People were still coming in, getting set up. She was getting set up, wearing a mask, and people started coming in, no one's wearing a mask. And her friend said, you might want to take that off. She goes, no, it's going to be weird. And she goes, no, I'm saying you're going to feel weird. And within 15 minutes, she sought her friend out and she said, this is really different. As she's taking off her mask. And guess what April said? No, this is normal. Another couple showed up about 2 weeks later. I don't even know how they got there. I seriously have no idea how they got there, even if they were friends, because they both showed up with masks and they never took them off. The husband, he was freaked right out. He went downstairs by the fire and didn't talk to anybody the entire time. But the wife, she stayed upstairs in the kitchen where food was being made and people were socializing and no social distancing and being together. And she was sharing with the people how afraid both her and her husband were about the virus. And people are telling me this story. I was like, how did they end up at this point? How did they end up here? They were just looking for some new friends because they're stuck at home. But get this, in the home, they're wearing masks at the kitchen table, taking them off just to eat and putting them back on again when they're done.
Dear Lord. Dear God.
But here's the power of community. After sharing her story, Carla, one of the women that are with us, she said, "What if you just try taking it off? Like, just you don't have to. I'm just saying, what if you just try it? Just try it, maybe for 30 seconds. Just try it for 30 seconds. Give it a shot." And she's like, she took it off. And not even 10 seconds went by, and she started to weep profusely. And she said, "I always knew something was wrong with this." Incredible things are happening when we're forming these communities.
Yes, yes, amen.
Build community. This is how we're going to get through it. And think about it, we know this because that's what they're trying to destroy. And the more we do it, the less power they have. The more that we're gathering like this, the better it is. Gather, meet. You now have a whole new group of people that think like you. You are not alone, and there's more. A lot more.
I forgot something. It's
You forgot something?
Really important to what you just said.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, sorry. I'm gonna be like 10 seconds. Okay. No, I forgot something, guys, because what Paul just said about community. I forgot to give you guys a secret handshake.
Yeah. My immunity, you definitely want that. I'll give you a hug. Thank you to everybody again. Marla and the team here at Outlaws. Thank you to Mr. Schaefer. Our sound man. Thank you to Vicky coming and speaking as well. And of course, Will as well. Thank you so much. Thank you. Yes, another question or something.
I'm working with a small group and we're doing letters of notice of liability.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
She's doing notice of liability letters.
Good job, sound man.
He's doing a great job.
Check, check, 1, 2, 1, 2. Hello, hello. Oh, perfect. We're doing notices of liability. I'm working with a friend who's done some of these things already. Amazing stories she has. Anyway, and as is Joni here, we are preparing because of the plebiscite regarding fluoride. We are doing notices of liability for that, and Friday after this coming one, we're going to have a team of people. What we are hoping to do is have 3 people from every riding in the city of Calgary, as well as, I don't know if you're aware, but we have Calgary City Water goes to many other municipalities outside of Calgary. Yeah. I think Okotoks and Chestermere and maybe Canmore. Anyway, Airdrie, I think. Anyways, so we're hoping to gather people together. We're gonna do registered mail, notices of liability to those different, and we want people from every riding to participate. So if anyone wants to participate, the fee is to be able to pay for registered mail.
Yeah.
Right, so if anybody wants to participate, I'll take your name, number, and email address, and we'll get that organized.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. What are you known as?
I'm with Freedom for Canada, and we're suing Dina Hinshaw
Wonderful.
to show us the proof.
Your
My name is, okay, I'm called Adele.
Adele. Pleased to meet you. Thank you so much. Yeah, speak to Adele. She's doing some great work there. That is important as well because there's more information coming out about fluoride and the damage that's doing. That is going to be something that gets included in on all this other garbage that we're experiencing. I know this. Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you so much. One thing I just want to make a note of this is purely logistical, but regarding the registered mail, Adele, my dear Adele, yes. Regarding the registered mail, what we have discovered is that many times it is not getting delivered.
We might hire a process server actually.
Yeah, or you can also do double registering. So then you get one signature when it gets there, and it requires your signature back when it comes, when they basically a receipt saying, I delivered it. Yep. Okay, good. Wonderful. Any other questions? Anything? Those are my closing remarks. I just want to make sure that everybody feels like they're empowered, they can move forward. I've got the packages here. Again, I encourage people just to take one per business. I'm going to have more. A lot of this is going to be uploaded onto the website. It's going to be formulated into a step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. So keep an eye on that over the next week or so on letstallopen.com. And folks, you guys are awesome. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's it.
Okay, last question.
Party again.